All right. What's up, everybody? Thanks for tuning into the Sancha and Sancho podcast. Always to my left, we always have the co-host of the show, Cindy.
Mm-hmm. Hello, hello.
And then always in the corner off cam, we have J-Lo. She is always behind the scenes. What's up, Jenny?
What's up, amigos?
And today we have a pretty special guest. What's up, Danny?
What is up?
Yeah. So thanks for giving us the time today. I'm glad that we got you on the show finally. So
Yeah, heck yeah.
Of course. I'm all about it.
so
Well, I mean, I guess before anything, let's cheers and welcome to the podcast.
yeah, salute.
Salud.
Cheers.
Go, cheers.
Salud.
J-Lo over there in the corner. She's got the bottle.
She's got it.
Oh, yeah, that's strong. I can't see now. What is that, Windex?
Is it really?
Is that No.
Is that
Okay,
Windex?
Is that Windex?
Where are you from?
Born and raised in Colorado Springs.
Oh, interesting.
Not very far from here. What brought me to Greeley, oddly enough, was... Oh, how do I put this? So what got me out of Colorado Springs was a wrestling scholarship. Yes, yes. 2000-ish.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, it was a while ago. But essentially what happened is a lot of wrestling programs across the nation closed down because there were no female sport equivalent to wrestling. It actually happened to a lot of football programs. However, most football programs have a fair amount more funding. So I found myself out in the world, and I had a number of people that I cared about up here that were going to school at UNC. So I transferred and became a walk-on up here.
So at this time, are you like a student or are you like a teacher?
I was a student.
Okay.
So I'm not that old. Maybe I am, maybe I'm not. I don't know.
Yeah. How old are you at this time?
I will be 40 this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe. Or I'm already 40.
So you were like in your
2021?
you were in your 20s
Yeah.
when you were
Usual,
doing this. Okay.
usual college age.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was motivated by wrestling. It was kind of one of those things that got me out of the poor neighborhood I grew up in. So that was kind of like my first love.
Yeah. Okay.
And it was either that or the Marines. Because, they were like, oh, you can wrestle in the Marines. But as I
Right.
started talking to other people, they're like, get it in writing. And I was like, get it in writing? This guy's a Marine, man. How could he not tell me the truth? He's a Marine. Get it in writing. Get it in writing, kids. Just saying. So
But hold on, like get what in writing?
they'll promise you stuff, and basically it's like a contract. So if you
so
go
they
into
make
the
you
military-
sign. They make
Oh
you
yeah,
sign stuff.
when
It's from the military.
yeah,
Oh, really?
Did you join the military? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
you sign a contract, and they own you for however long, usually 4 years.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I see.
So a lot of the kids who come through the gym, because it's actually really common for people to be like, I'm going into the military and I want to work on, combative stuff, martial arts, things like that. So we get a number of kids who come through the gym, and, it's right before they deploy or something like that. But they also have to kind of be careful, because if you hurt yourself between that time, then you kind of get nothing. Because they'll offer signing bonuses and things along those lines, which
Gotcha.
are really good incentives. But, it's like most things. If you're a surgeon and you break a hand, that's a big deal. If you're a laborer and you hurt your back, also a big deal. So it's along the same lines.
Right.
So
Okay. So then at this time, you were a student, you're going to college in Colorado Springs, and then you came down to Colorado?
Pueblo.
So Pueblo
Yes.
to Greeley.
Yep. Come to
Okay.
Greeley. I had family and friends. Well, not family, but friends here. People I knew. They had a wrestling program. I was all about it. Transferred up. Did school. Did good for a while. And then I got a staph infection in my back. A really kind of gnarly one.
In your back?
Yes.
I didn't even know that was possible.
I still have a scar on my back from
How
it.
did you cut it and like?
It hurt a lot. And actually, no knock on, the doctors there, but they were, I go and I tell them, oh, I'm really lethargic. And, when I hit my back, sometimes my legs tingle. And
Mm.
You know, I'm always so tired all the time. And they go, oh, you must be depressed. And I was like, okay, sure. But hey, I have this bump on my back. Oh, that's just a pimple. You're fine. Oh, okay. Well, you're a medical professional. I believe in you. At that point in time, I believed in medical professionals.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we're going with that. And I remember I went on the antidepressants and was like, okay, cool. Still didn't change anything. So I finally went in one day and I was like, hey, I got this thing on my back and it hurts. Pop it. Do something to it. I don't care. Just do something, please. So I remember I was laying on this table. So they put me on the table and it's like the nurse practitioner. And I remember laying there. They cleaned me up. I was laying there and she comes in. She says, you're all right. You're going to feel something. And then I hear her gasp. But in that gasp, I'm laying there. I was like, oh, God, I feel so much better. I was like, oh, yeah. Like my legs felt better. I was like, oh, I feel great. And she's like, I need you to just lie still. I'll be right back.
What the?
And I'm like, is everything okay?
Right?
Just don't move. Just don't move. I'll be right back. So, of course, it's a health center. So she goes outside the door. And I need the doctor. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Oh
because you're just laying there.
gosh.
So I get all, like, stiff fetal position at this point. Like, oh, geez. So, doctor comes in. He's like, yeah, you need to take a sample. And he's just kind of talking her through stuff. And, doctors, they come in. That good bedside demeanor where they're not actually interacting with you, but they're talking. And it's okay. Just like, I was like, hey, okay. How bad can it be? It was a pimple. They told me it was a pimple.
Oh,
It's fine.
really?
It's fine. It's a pimple. Come to find out, it was staph, and it was a good amount of staph. I remember when I got up, there was a lot of fluid in it, so it must have burst out onto the table. And it was like this brownish. Oh, it was gross. It was gross. So I'm sitting there, and they're like, "Yeah, so you probably shouldn't wrestle." And I was like, "You mean just like
You
a couple days, right? Like,
What?
yeah, I'll be fine. Whatever." So I get this, and I'm like, "Okay, I'll be fine. Whatever, not a problem." I go in and talk to the coaches, and college athletics is very much dog eat dog, and it's one of those where if you don't perform, you don't get to be there. So as a walk on, it was a lot less. The tolerance. So when I went in and told them, they're like, well, clean out your locker. You're done.
Dang.
So, yeah, that sucked.
Yeah.
So I did what they said and kind of just went on with life,
And this was like when you were wrestling?
Yes. It was
Okay.
kind of near the end. So we're talking 2002-ish,
Okay.
somewhere in that range. It's funny as you get older, time kind of starts blending. 'Cause you have time frames, and some people are much better at remembering, times, dates, things like that. I'm not one of those. Again, I'll blame brain trauma. But yeah, it was rough. I took it hard,
Yeah.
and it kind of bled through to all aspects of my life. So I gained a lot of weight. That's pretty normal for wrestling. You wouldn't know it by the specimen you see before you now, but I used to be fairly fit. Now I'm in lazy jujitsu mode, so you only exert as much energy as you have to, and what the day demands.
But still deadly, though.
I know, man.
Deadly. I have yet to kill anyone.
Yeah, don't
Okay, okay.
downplay.
Dang, all right.
So yeah, that sucked. So I kind of fell into my hole, and then, a bit later, I'd say about 6 months or so, I kind of came out of it, and I was like, I can still do something. I healed up, I was healthier, but I was overweight. So I wandered around, and I found a quiet gym. Oddly enough, it was when the Evans Rec was built, somewhere in that range. It was a new facility. So I went and got a membership there and started showing up in the morning and running and doing what I knew to do. Started kind of lifting weights, putting myself.
Yeah,
back
trying to get
together.
back into that groove.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Because that's what it is it becomes such a part of you. And that's one of those where even like the college athletes, we'll have college athletes come through the gym, and I kind of will warn them of kind of the pitfalls, because you become so used to the routine and what you're getting from that and the endorphins, and that if it should go away for some reason, bad. So I started putting myself together, and I got it in my head that I was going to start doing judo.
Okay.
I was like, I'm going to go find a judo school. And judo is close to wrestling. I'm all about that. And in this whole time, I still was a fan, fighting. So if we rewind the clock, my story is going to get very convoluted. Because this is how I think. It's unfortunate. It's left and right brain malfunction.
You're like, oh, squirrel. Oh,
yeah. So you rewind the clock. When I first was wrestling at Southern Colorado, I was first introduced to Pride Fighting Championship.
Okay.
So this is kind of one of those markers where we start talking about old school fighters versus new school fighters. And, in recent years, I think you've even heard me say this, Anthony, we talk about the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
It's like, well, yeah, he's a dinosaur, so I root for a dinosaur.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons, because for those of us who have been in the fight life and the fight sport for so many years, it started many years ago with Pride. People always talk about the UFC, and it, started oddly enough here in Colorado and stuff like that.
I know.
Right.
That's
Which
pretty
is
crazy.
big, it's big.
Yeah.
It's big. But a lot of times, a lot of stuff was going through Pride, and that was an overseas show in Japan, and back then we'd get these VHS. But that was kind of one of those things. And then throughout most of my years after that, I was able to do this mail order thing. I found a magazine. It was called Fight Magazine.
Okay.
And I was able to get it delivered to me.
Yep.
And it was just all this stuff about fights, so like Bob Sapp and, Alistair Overeem when he was so much younger.
Kickboxing days.
Yes. All of these good old names that now people, your average, it's one of those when I hear about fans and then the real fans who know the history.
Mm-hmm.
Now, it doesn't make anything wrong or anything, Most people, they pick it up, and it's such a spectacle. Mm-hmm. And the fight scene is so visceral, and it moves you and it drives you. So for me, back when I was wrestling in college at Southern Colorado, I had an opportunity to take place in what was referred to back then as Tough Man.
Okay.
Now, this was a blip in the media world. What it was is this promoter who was literally traveling the country, and he would take just people in the crowd, and he'd put on these big yellow boxing gloves and this big yellow headgear, and he'd offer you money to fight someone else out of the crowd.
What?
Colorado Springs City Auditorium, circa 2001-ish. I'm there. I'm on one of the vacations from college, finished half the year of wrestling, so I'm in good shape. I'm hanging out. The guy yells out to the crowd, "Anybody want to get in a fight?" Oh, testosterone high. Hand up like a little child.
Oh my God.
The back of preschool. Call me, come right here.
Jumping
right
and
here.
everything,
Oh,
huh?
Yes. Like the worst groupie in the world. Please take me to your room and do what you want to me.
Oh my God.
What do I have to do? I gotta pull my shirt off. Take me, please. So
That's hilarious.
I get in there and had no clue what was going on. But they put me in with this guy. I didn't
So
even
they
know his
chose
name.
you.
They chose
They
me.
Oh, snap.
Chose me. I was the chosen.
The chosen one.
Yes. Me and this other gentleman never saw him before, haven't seen him since. We're both there. They put us up in the corners. And they're like, all right.
Wait, so is this
so fucking crazy.
just like literally
It was
just fighting?
boxing.
Like, okay, just boxing. All right.
As an older man, I can't call it boxing. It was ugly. It was, just ugly.
Just like street fighting, pretty much?
Yeah, brawling.
Okay.
I believe the term was brawling.
All right.
We went out there and I remember just swinging as much as I could. And the only thing I had going for me was just the fact that I was, halfway through a wrestling season, so I was in decent shape. And it wasn't until the guy hit the ground that I was like, oh,
What?
fuck, I hope my coaches don't find out about this.
Oh.
Oh shit!
So he hits the ground. I win. It's very surreal. Got me a sweet $500. Fucking
Nice.
score. Fucking score. Yes. Thank
Woo!
you.
And
So that was my first taste of actually fighting. Because wrestling,
That's crazy.
you get so into it, you don't even view it as actually fighting. Like it's just you and then someone else out there, and you're just trying to impose your will. One of the sayings that we've always used: "I'm the hammer, you're the nail." That's kind of the wrestling thought process. That's what I'm here to do. I'm here to impose. I am here to show you that I can put you down, put you on your back, and I will hold you there. So we fast forward. I'm looking for a judo gym. I found one here in town. It had just closed.
Oh.
So I'm like, well, that sucks. So I start kind of wandering around, and I ran into a guy at the gym. He's like, yeah, you should go over and, there's this thing, jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, yeah, I've heard of that. That's like wrestling. Yeah, that's cool. And even back when we were wrestling and, down there, we'd practice around with arm bars and doing stuff like that. So I had been exposed since around 2000, and even in high school wrestling, we'd mess around and choke each other and do silly things as we were wrestling. Like,
Is this like pre or post catch wrestling?
around the same era.
Okay. So
'Cause
now I see what you're saying, but it's all
What
similar.
people don't realize is that wrestling has actually been, I don't want to say dumbed down, but actually diluted. You used to be allowed to choke in wrestling. You
Really?
used to
Wow.
be allowed to actually submit each other in wrestling. Now, by the time I came through, these were kind of stories. But I had wrestling coaches who were like, when they would put in a chicken wing on you, they would try to rip your shoulder out.
Dang.
When they put in a crossface or they put in a front headlock, they'd pinch and they said, yeah, if you pass out, that's on you.
Wow.
You can always give up, boy.
Dang.
So a lot of the rules, yes, are geared towards safety. I will not deny that. But a lot of the wrestling now is not as much as it used to be. And as much as I appreciate the safety aspect, it is one of those things that's become a necessary in today's society,
Right.
which, nobody wants to die or anything.
Right. Right.
Yes.
But be safe. Be safe.
It is
Right.
kind of weird because we want to be like the most competitive that is like humanly possible, but the safest that is humanly possible. They don't really coincide the most together.
Every behavior has its inherent risks. That is a truth of how we exist. The more extreme the behavior, the more extreme the risks are. Okay, so I'm looking for something. I walk into this room, and everybody's wearing, we call them gis. We joke about them being called battle pajamas, things like that. I look at it, and one guy's holding another guy down. I'm like, okay, I can get behind this. That looks like wrestling. All right, I'm going to try this out. So I show up and wore my wrestling shoes. I had all my training gear on, just like it was wrestling practice. Even still had my singlet on. That's why I've joked about that in the room when people come in, especially the guys who used to wrestle. They'll come in and put their singlets on under their gear. And
That's okay. That's like that, like
Yep.
tracksuit thing.
Oh, it's the leotard. Let's call it what it is. It's tights.
yeah.
Tights.
You know what? It's actually pretty funny because I just remember the very first time I've ever seen anybody wear something like that. I was like, what? Like, I didn't even know that that's something that you would wear to, I guess, wrestle.
Well,
That's
the
the-
idea behind it is it's, nothing can get caught. Like it's just one person versus another.
Okay.
Nothing
So
gets
like
caught.
body to body,
Yeah,
if anything.
nothing gets caught in the clothing or anything like that. I would equate it to like the swimsuits, low drag
Yeah.
is the idea. Not particularly flattering. I mean, the world knows what you got, so sure you're here to do.
Yeah, the singlet was the one and only reason why I didn't wrestle in high school.
That's all it took.
I didn't have any wrestling friends, so I didn't want to be the only one that was like wearing the tights in the group,
It's funny because I had a conversation with it's another gentleman. He's a boxing coach here in town, and we were joking. The conversation started with joking about cauliflower ear. Because it's kind of one of the keynotes. People talk about wrestling and then they start talking about the cauliflower ear. Now, for those of you who don't know, cauliflower ear is a cartilage buildup from basically you break your ears. So most people don't think about this, but you can break your ears. It's a real thing. And essentially blood will build up, and sometimes you have to have the blood drained out. But if you don't, it'll basically calcify after a while, and then your ear just becomes a big clump on the side of your head.
That's crazy.
The most extreme cases usually will take plastic surgery. They have to go in and literally reform your ear.
Really?
But for some of us, like I've been very lucky. I do have cauliflower ear, but it's not grotesque. It's obvious that I have it. I'll show off. There you go.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah. Oh, snap.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Something to be proud of.
It is my trophy. I have deformed my body. I have deformed my body in the name of sport. So, but, this gentleman's from the boxing world. So I was like, yeah, you can get cauliflower ear from boxing. You get popped in your ear.
Punched in the ear, yeah.
Exactly. It's a thing. But it's just like, God, I can't believe you guys just get on top of each other. And I'm like, well, it's always good if you get into a fight with somebody and you can always just predict because fights happen. I'd imagine most of you have been in fights or witnessed a fight at some point. So yes, when people get into the whole wrestling thought process, they always just go, oh, it's just two dudes rolling around on each other. They kind of miss the point of the competition of it and just the spirit of what you're trying to accomplish.
It's really hard to hold another person that doesn't want to be held.
Yeah.
It really is.
So when you get into wrestling and even the jiu-jitsu that we do now and even when you get into MMA, people will sidetrack that, but they forget that a lot of the better MMA fighters in the world at one point were wrestlers or wrestled or were grapplers of some point because everyone just wants to see the big knockout. I'm just here to watch heads roll. Right. I want to see some eyes get blown out of their heads.
Oh, jeez. I want to see some blood.
Yes. Or that classic, I don't know, I've seen the video. What's our favorite media these days? Are we talking about TikTok, Snapchat? What are we doing?
We're just only on Instagram.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I don't have
on
a
Instagram, the classic video of the guys at the fight is like, twist his dick off.
Oh my God.
You haven't seen that video?
No, dude.
Oh, it's so awesome. It's
Oh
just-
my gosh.
The guy's obviously inebriated, just standing up in the crowd screaming, and then this other guy stands up and starts filming him, and he has the guy over his shoulder, and he just starts egging it on. Yeah, twist his dick off. Yeah, that's
Oh
it. Do
my
that. Yeah.
Wow.
So for those people, they just kind of want to see just straight, I want to see blood and violence.
Yeah,
and
like
horrible
the
stuff.
entertainment, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it really is not like that. I mean,
Yeah, it's about like technique.
even a lot
Right?
of your better pros, it's 6 months of work for about 15 minutes,
Yeah.
maybe 25 minutes of glory. And maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't.
I was trying to get Eric to
Yes.
go to the farm for honestly probably like 2 years. I was trying to get him to go in there because he seemed really interested. Like he loves the sport. He's always watching it. He was always asking me questions where it's kind of like wanting me to start the conversation. Like I feel like he wanted me to ask him to come, but then just so he can say, well, because I whatever
Yeah.
excuses.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was on vacation. I don't remember where we were. And he sent me a video. He was like, yeah, I definitely don't want to do jiu-jitsu if it's like this. And it was a video of this guy. And there's always like this guy explaining like the move in the video. And there's like the guy behind him that's going to be like the uki, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And the dude is explaining oil checks.
Oh, Lord.
And So
Would you like to explain what an oil check is?
So an oil
I
check
don't
is
know what that
basically
for the rest of the people in the crowd.
an oil check is basically when you're dipping your fingers in someone's rear crevices
What?
because that makes them like if you're trying to get on a position, you do that and it makes them like freak out, obviously, so you can like they move. I don't do this. Don't even
Okay,
like this.
okay.
I am a firm believer of the exit only belief. So,
That's good.
but it is a thing. So it definitely, but because of wrestling. So I brought it up. I think it was on Emerson's podcast. It was like the Greeks. They started wrestling.
Yes.
But they would wrestle naked and
Yes.
used to be able to grab each other's hang downs.
Yeah.
So the oil check is definitely, I'm sure, stems a lot from those days. But
The reality is that when two people are fighting, so you can take it in any realm, fighting, jiu-jitsu, wrestling, these things actually even happen in boxing and, even Muay Thai. Things end up where they're not supposed to. People get kicked in the crotch.
yep.
People get punched in the back of the head. When you're trying to grab for a position or you're in the heat of the moment, sometimes things get grabbed onto, and it's awkward, but it's like most
like,
things in
oops.
life. Yeah, you just hey,
like
we're adults here. Yeah, oops,
My
All of a
bad,
sudden,
bro.
like, you're gonna sing the Britney
oops.
song.
But I want
Oh,
to
yeah.
tell you, sir, congratulations.
That's when you end up in position and you just like lean over and you just hit them with the, my bad, bro. My bad.
The whispering,
Honestly,
yeah.
though, I feel like sometimes, I mean, I've came into the gym and I tried it out, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know, sometimes it's kind of a different perspective. I mean, it could be different for everybody else too, speaking for women, like they might be okay with it, it might be, they don't even think about it like that, right? They just focus on, training. But I feel like somebody who's not so much into that and they want to try that, I feel like sometimes it can be intimidating to go in and, I guess like roll with another man or even for those instances, like you guys are saying, like you guys accidentally like touch or whatever, but it's like, it's kind of the same way for girls. It's like, let's say you're rolling with another girl and they accidentally fucking elbow you on the fucking tit, like that fucking hurts.
Yeah.
So I don't know, like,
No, I
At
get
the
it.
end of the day, there is a lot of that, just you're being an adult and things happen. It's
Yeah.
the reality. No matter what you train for, be it sport, MMA, any of those kind of realms, or you're training just for self-defense, the reality is that it is about teaching you to be comfortable with things that make you uncomfortable. As a woman, you talk about self-defense. There are some realities that if somebody bigger and stronger, they're going to try to hold you down, and all the bad things that get put into your head with that thought process. So for you as a woman, the idea is we got to get you to be able to not freeze and to be able to do the best you can do for yourself. So for a number of years, we'll do these self-defense clinics where we'll bring in women's groups and stuff like that. And we were going very strong for a while there. We haven't done as many recently, but when the opportunity arises, I'm definitely all about it. But I remember I had a woman come back a couple times. She was all about it and enjoyed it. But one time she came back and she was doing stuff with her husband, and her husband, in his infinite wisdom, sat there and said, "That's bullshit. It wouldn't work. You just get hurt."
wow.
And so she came to me and said that, and I was like, yeah, maybe you might want to ask your husband what he would rather have you do. Because God forbid, somebody were to try to hurt you or to hold you down or to do anything horrible to you. Would you want to go out fighting? Would you want even the hope or the chance that you could do something to protect yourself or to offset them, scratch an eye, fuck, go for that dick twist, whatever it takes. No, because at the end of the day, that is what it is. It is a pure form of protecting yourself. Most times, and we could throw out just statistics and all that kind of stuff, but the reality is you can sit there on World Star. That was a
World Star.
World Star.
Star.
World Star. And you watch these videos, and everybody watches them because it's that little sick thing in all humans, because they want to see that. They want to see that violence.
Right.
Getting real close. They want to see that violence. However, the reality is that when push comes to shove, the reality is you guys are probably going to end up on the ground, especially if neither one of you knows what you're doing. You're just kind of going for the fences. So when you get into the grappling and the self-defense along those lines, it is about the idea is survive. That's it. Survive. Live to fight. Live to fight another day. Live to fight another day. Gotta throw those movie references.
Is that your impersonation?
Live to fight another day. Do you get bonus points for naming that movie?
Waterboy.
Ah, good man. Good man. Do we get a victory one for that one? Yes. Movie trivia points acquired. So, to get back to that, comfortable, uncomfortable, at the end of the day, you are taking care of yourself. You are doing what you can, and you get used to things. Embrace the suck is a term that kind of gets thrown out there a fair amount. But there's also so many other aspects to it. What do you do, Sancha? What do you do to unwind?
Like,
Do you read books?
I like to work out.
You like to work out. You enjoy it. You're one of those who truly enjoys working out. Okay. So you go and you work out. What do you get from that?
I don't know. Just
So let me break it down a little bit. So you go and you work out and you're done. And you take your deep breath and you've finished. What do you feel?
accomplished.
There you are. You feel good. There is a physiological thing with working out. The endorphins run. You feel better. When you get into higher end athletes, it almost becomes an addiction because you get used to it and it becomes part of your lifestyle. And when something in your lifestyle goes away, it becomes a loss. So then I turn to J-Lo. What do you do to unwind? Read.
Yeah.
That's your release, your outlet. So much of life is trying to figure out those things that keep you good, keep you okay, keep you functioning. Nobody's life is roses, but nobody's life is super badass. You know, you always see the people, it's like, oh, they got millions of dollars. I'm going to date myself. I've been watching MTV Cribs. And that life looks amazing. But you know what always ends up happening? And I've learned this. I lived in Los Angeles for a little while, and those people aren't any happier than anyone else.
That is so true.
So the reality is what are you doing to make yourself happy? What are you doing to make the time for yourself? Because that's what it really is what does it mean to you to get something done? When somebody means something to you, you make the time to make them a part of your life because they are important to you. It's the same thing for every other aspect of your life. If you're not making the time for it, you can always make 1,000 reasons why you don't do something.
Yeah.
But you know what's really hilarious is it only takes one good reason to do something. That's it. One good reason. So when you get into this stuff like the grappling, it's just another thing that you do for yourself. Some people skydive. Some people go and do broom ball. Some people read.
Did you say broom ball?
Oh, yeah. You ever played broom ball?
What's broom ball?
It's played on ice. You wear special shoes.
Oh, is that the one where they like...
Yep. No, you're
like
thinking of curling. Curling is also amazing, by the way. I'll go on record as saying that.
Okay.
But broom ball, it's like hockey, but you have a broom, and you're on ice, so you're trying not to bust your ass. And you're basically playing hockey, but it's with brooms.
Huh.
Can I get a... Oh, there it is. It's up on the screen.
Oh,
Boom.
I see.
Broom ball.
What the frick?
It's like,
Is
it's
this?
literally a stick with
You are
like,
going to learn so
It's like
much from me.
lacrosse. Lacrosse on ice.
Pretty much. It's
Put on the ground. Lacrosse hockey.
and they literally just have regular shoes.
oh, what the heck? I
Wow.
didn't notice that.
Spending your time trying not to bust your ass.
That
That must be pretty tough, actually.
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you used to do that?
Not,
Just for fun?
Just for fun. In my travels, if I have the opportunity to do stuff, I will do it.
Nice.
But within reason.
Mm-hmm.
I will go and sightsee, check out weird random spots. I have wrestled an alligator.
What?
what?
I,
wait. Don't skip over that.
why not? It's just something else to do.
You said you've wrestled an alligator?
So, I wander down south sometimes into Louisiana to teach. And
To teach jiu-jitsu?
yes,
Okay.
or MMA or whatever they feel like wanting to learn from me.
Nice.
You know, people, I always hope they don't just want to pay me to hear me talk, but I guess this podcast, if this gets popular, I guess we'll see.
Right.
Maybe it's just my voice.
Oh.
Oh, that was well timed. So there's alligator farms down there, and most of them are usually try to, because alligators, you know, they're not a respected creature in the eyes of, you know, people see them and they just kill them because they're in the way usually. You know, you're rocking out and some alligator hangs out in your yard and takes off with foo-foo. You're generally not going to be too thrilled about the alligator, even though the alligator's doing what it does.
Right, natural
It's all foo-foo.
habitat, right.
And foo-foo wasn't smart enough to realize that it could outrun the alligator. So foo-foo is now poo-poo. But you can go there and essentially the idea is they have the guys there to kind of be there with you. You got to approach the alligator. You have to wrap up on it.
Uh-huh.
And then the goal is to slide your hands up, close its mouth, and then tie a rope around its mouth.
All right, what? They taught you how to do this?
That's got to be like the biggest bucket list thing for every wrestler. If you can wrestle a man,
It is a real thing that you can do. The first couple times that it was kind of introduced to me, I don't think it's something that's super well known about, but it does exist out there. Can we pull up alligator wrestling? Let's see what we get on the old intranet.
That's crazy. I actually
pulls up
saw a
Danny.
video.
Pulls up me. Yeah.
pulls up Danny.
I was wearing my singlet, by the way.
Oh my god.
He's got it in a... Were you
I carry it with me now.
really? I was like, oh my
Just
God,
some
please tell me
grubby
that's
clothes.
fake.
Yeah.
You
No,
got
I
it.
actually did see a video. I think it was on Instagram or something, and I think it was in Florida, and like their dog, kind of like the similar story, you know, their dog went like kind of close to like the pond or something, and then the freaking alligator just goes.
Oh,
and
and the old man?
yes, and he goes and tries to open up the alligator's mouth
You
and
seen
takes
that?
out the dog.
Yeah.
It looks like a golf course, kind of.
But essentially, it's the same thing that the wranglers do. You know,
how
they
about...
distract it, try to come at it from its blind spot. And then you got to close its mouth because, you know, it has claws. So, I mean, it's a wild animal. Sometimes you got to get outside your comfort zones.
I've skydived. That's awesome.
There you go. See, how is that any different? So you're telling me taking on the alligator scares you, but trusting your existence to a piece of something that someone else packed,
Right.
and you hope they did it right?
Oh man, that's pretty crazy to think about in that
But
perspective.
again, that's it.
Do more people
It's-
die from skydiving or from alligators?
I don't know. Maybe that's a J-Lo
Oh,
question
that's a
she
little
looked up.
baby alligator.
I'll do that. I'm about that.
But yeah, the one where they're sitting, that's essentially what you do is you work your way up its back, and then you got to work your hands to try to keep it in their blind spots. You got to get its mouth closed, and
You just
then you
got
tie it up.
You just throw them in a body triangle.
No, you do not want your legs below theirs because then they'll scratch the shit out of you. Yeah, that's bad. Yeah, because they, like I said, they have claws.
Yeah. They're pretty long
And
too.
the The tail is brutal,
Okay.
just like he's doing right there. Because an alligator's bite strength, they have a lot of pressure. They can bite down and bite through a lot of things, but they have no strength in opening their mouth. It's very similar to
interesting.
how your hand is. So you can grab something, you can squeeze with your hand, but if your hand is closed and someone comes and holds your hand closed, a lot of times you don't have enough strength to actually open your hand anymore.
Okay.
So it's very similar to that same concept. So what you're doing essentially is that you're getting this alligator, and this is what those guys do regularly to transport these animals, is you can't leave its mouth closed and taped up all the time. It has to eat.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. And then it's like a little knot rope, you tie it up, and then you're good. And then you have to dismount in a semi-graceful fashion, which I'll admit the first time, I was scared to death. Shit was crazy. But I was in one of those modes, and I was like, you know what?
I'm out.
We're doing this. Like, I'm here. What are we doing? Now, I mean,
Nice.
first time I did it. I've done it a few times.
I was gonna ask, I'm like, how many times have you done this?
The first time I did it, they had its mouth already taped.
Oh.
Yeah,
So you just kind of like learn how to approach it or whatever.
pretty much.
Okay.
It's a whole learning process. Like anything. You go and you learn. What is a new skill that you have picked up recently?
Assembling furniture.
Assembling furniture. IKEA to the
Actually,
rescue.
yeah, that's pretty true lately. I have been doing that a lot.
So here's another one of those perspective things as I'm watching this gentleman wrestle this gator on our screen we have here. We are in charge of our own existence for the most part. There's certain realities to everything that we do in life. You got to pay bills, you got to pay taxes, you got to take care of your needs, whatever those may be. But in your everyday life, what are you doing to make yourself better? What are you doing to educate yourself? What are you doing to progress those things that you want? What is your hustle? Dun, dun, dun. That sounds kind of weird, though. But more than anything, so you have all this time in your life, and this is something I'll even point out to kids is like, you have the entirety of human knowledge in our hands now, which that's pretty crazy. When I first got a phone number, I had a flip phone. And you had to text, and and look at these hands. You think texting was awesome for me? But what do you do on a daily basis to make yourself better? And if not on a daily basis, weekly basis. Some people, you go to school. That's good. But you come across something. Some people, it's easy. We just learned about alligator wrestling. And you're like, yeah, fuck that. No, I'm not doing that. Cool.
Nope.
That's for you.
Not about it.
Yeah, I'm not here to tell you what to do. I have a
watch
hard
people
time
do it.
doing that in my gym, telling people what to do. It's like, you could do that. I'm making suggestions, and you come here. So this is kind of where I go back with the managing yourself kind of thing. You have to. So you have your whole life to figure yourself out. Some people do. Some people don't. Some people spend their whole lives and have no idea who they are. It's a reality. But if you can figure yourself out, sometimes you can manage yourself much better. So when we get back to me and the tough man, and then I found jiu-jitsu, formally found jiu-jitsu. Because before that, I'd been doing stuff. I'd been training. But when I found an actual instructor, and again, in my extreme behaviors, once I got into this, I got into it. That was what I was doing. So, I devoted my life to whatever else I needed. I went and worked. I worked a full-time day job. At that point, when I was discovering jiu-jitsu, I was working as a paraprofessional.
What?
Teaching preschool.
Oh, interesting.
Preschool
I love
special
that.
ed. Yes. So it was always fun to explain black ice to small children. Lots of really bad jokes about falling downstairs.
Oh my god. Dude.
Oh my god! Because you were training at this time, and then you were teaching kids. That's funny.
And even how I fell into that job was a complete accident. Even for that one, I worked through college as a CNA.
Okay.
I have this weird thing. I've always gravitated towards human services. My temperament, my general thought process, and I've been accused of being an empathy type person, empathy or personality types. So I've always been fairly motivated to be there for people or help people because you should do good. It's one of those like do good in your life.
Yeah.
Because you have X amount of time and you should do something useful with it. And there are people who wander the earth and who are just walking dumpsters of chaos and damage, and that bleeds out on everyone else they come across. And then there are those people who, just live their lives in generally chaotic neutrals. And then I always kind of gravitated towards these existences. So I was a CNA. And then there near the end of college, I became a hospice CNA. And then I also worked in an emergency room a little bit off and on.
Oh, wow.
So I was doing all these kind of things. And then through the college, I was able to write that in as, part of my college stuff. And it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
So then it's time to change jobs. Sometimes it's time to change jobs. Just gonna go somewhere else.
Right.
Had my resume in my hand, and I went over, and I was like, okay, I got to be at this building at this time. I went to these buildings, and my nerd's about to show. There's an episode of Doctor Who that's called Turn Left. I don't know. Some of the people out there in the world will know what I mean. But the whole idea of it is the idea of, do you turn left or do you turn right? In this moment, I turned left. And I went into the wrong building. But I went in there with resume in hand. So as I went in, a lady greeted me. And she was like, I was like, here's my resume. I'm here for an interview. And she goes, looks me over and goes, looks at my resume. And she's like, you're perfect. I was like, sweet. Okay, well, now what? She says, all right, come sit here. I got to get everybody.
She hijacked you.
Dang.
Is that what it is? I don't know. I always kind of viewed it as a fate thing. This is just how it is. And so much of my life has been that way. You fall into these places and you end up where you end up, and you try to do your best, but sometimes you screw up, and sometimes you make those choices in life where you're like, really, I did that, huh? Ooh. Holy cow, what were you thinking? So the older you gets to sit and look at the younger you and just be like wagging finger. What the hell were you thinking? But I went in there, they interviewed me, and I remember some of the questions were just random. Because I was there for hospice, like it's end of life care. Like the whole job is you take care of people and make sure they're comfortable, and you spend your last days with somebody.
Yeah.
You talk to them, and it's good. I usually approach it from telling lots of bad, dirty jokes, or while we're here, what do you want to do? You want to go to the store? Well, you're not allowed to do that. Well,
Oh, jeez.
can they really tell you what you can or do at this point? Like, can you do it? Okay, so if you can do it, let's do it. Whatever. But it turned out it was for a paraprofessional job, and it was for a high medical needs kiddo. And I didn't find this out until the very end. And they're like, well, we want to hire you, and you're perfect for this position. So I remember sitting there going, oh, what's the position again? Because you guys asked some really weird questions. And, not to expose privacy, but it was for a very severe needs kid in a high school. And they hired me on, and they said, well, it's end-of-life care. And I was like, but we're going to be in a high school. And they're like, yeah, this kid's medical condition he's at the end, but because of circumstances and the way laws are and the way things are, kiddos still come to school. You need to check his pulse every hour, check his vitals, and if he should start to slip, you are to take him outside and make him comfortable.
Wow.
And that's how I got into that.
Wow.
So
How do you say no?
Yeah, right?
They're like, you're hired. You're like, I don't.
I was a little confused for a little bit, but then I was like, well, it's the same thing I'm doing. The benefits are good. I'll give it a try. Mm-hmm. And then I got there, and then I was like, oh, I remembered how much I didn't like high school. Because it's always one of those when you're a live adult, have been out in the world, and you go back to high school and you're looking around, and you're like, okay, I know the type of kid you are. You. Oh, you're just such a glorious little bully, aren't you?
Oh, jeez. That's
Oh,
crazy.
and you're so shy. Don't worry, kiddo. It sucks now, but it gets better. It can get better. It's okay. You know,
I've never been back to my high school.
I know.
You're not going to do the 10-year. That's the tradition, the 10-year.
I mean, maybe.
I missed
right?
mine, so whatever. But my high school is closed down. The high school I went to does not exist anymore.
Dang, that's crazy.
Inner city stuff.
You guys will be like reuniting at like the nearest Elks Lodge.
Maybe. I'm not particularly motivated.
Yeah.
Closest VFW.
Yeah. I caution against glory dayers and people who get too much into their past days. It's good to remember your past with fondness, but that's why it's called your past. The old, if you're running down the street, you don't spend time looking over your shoulder.
That's true.
You look forward. You run forward.
Yeah.
Progress yourself. Teach yourself. Move on. Build yourself. So that's how that went in. So
And all while
I
you're
start
doing
jiu-jitsu.
this.
Yeah,
Okay, I
I'm
was
starting
like, you're
jiu-jitsu
still
and I'm
doing that?
training and my day job. Eventually, I got connected because this kid, he missed a fair amount of school. So while I was doing that, there would be days where they had to pay me. I was there on contract. So they're like, well, do you want to substitute? I'd be like, substitute? Cool. And for whatever reason, this really good, she was my boss. She was amazing. And she just liked me. I don't even know why. Mostly probably because of my shining sense of humor. But, and again, I never really talked about what I was doing during the day. In fact, even that one's kind of a funny story.
Did you not have Collie at the time?
I had cauliflower ear, and if people ask me, like, yeah, I've wrestled, but I really, I was accident prone, because the whole MMA thing and jiu-jitsu and all that, it's gotten more accepted over time, and you can thank the UFC and all that stuff for it. But back then, it was like, there was huge debates about the human cockfighting. It's just
Very backyardy.
yeah, Kimbo Slice.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of one of the more famous people with that. It's just two people trying to hurt and kill each other. Like those guys are animals. They're not people. They're just wired different. They're crazy and they're out causing problems. And the issue hasn't really helped because it's like anything, even in current days when you talk about like a gentleman like John Jones. Some of his legal issues and just the dumb stuff that these guys do. Just like power, absolute power corrupts absolutely. Money can corrupt you just as easily. And that's one of those where I view that as, these people have just money and just time on their hands and people around them who are trying to talk to them. And let's face it, most high-level athletes on all levels, they're extreme personalities.
Yep.
They need extreme behaviors.
Yep.
So extreme behaviors can be good. I'm learning new trades, skydiving.
Well, even if it's in regards to like jiu-jitsu, it takes a special person to like want to be
commit.
there.
You have to, because there is you will lose more than you will win.
Absolutely.
Even to this day, I have lost more than I won. I have gotten beaten in so many different ways. I've had stuff broken in so many different ways.
Wow.
I used to be able to draw my hands. I can't do that anymore. I found other stuff.
Wow, really?
Yeah, I use Photoshop and stuff a lot more now. But I used to be artistic. Even a lot of the gym logos, I drew those by hand originally. Just sitting around with a notepad, dreaming about a future.
Dang.
And I sat around, and even the story of Normand, I can tell that one. That's always a good story. But when you're working through a lot of these things, so I go there. This lady, she likes me. I start substituting a lot in preschool because that's where they needed help. So I'd go through, and it was a pretty sweet gig. I got to, I didn't have the greatest of childhoods, so I didn't have access to a lot of cool toys like Legos and stuff like that. So I got to play with Legos and blocks
And get paid for it.
and get paid for it. Yes. I got to go to these places, and usually it's half day preschool.
Yeah.
I got to sit there with kids, and they had needs, sometimes Down, sometimes autism, whatever. Your goal there was just to help them learn. You're not doing stuff for them. You're just there to help them. If they need to be helped, so that the teacher can focus on the class.
Okay.
But you're there to make sure this kid does what they need to do. Like, hey, buddy, we need to put the Legos away. I don't want to. It's like, okay, well, it's not like we're not going to play with Legos again. We can put this on the side. Oh, you built that? I'll tell you what, we'll save that. Shh. You're not supposed to save it. But we'll save that, and it's okay, kiddo.
Yeah.
Hide stuff away. We'll play with this later.
Yeah.
I promise.
That's cool.
So then I ended up in that job for a number of years. So at the same time, I'm progressing. Back when I was choosing the fight life, there were no places like what we have now with the farm. We had to go, if you wanted to box, I went to the Rodarte and was boxing down there for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
Rodarte, an amazing program. They do good stuff there.
It's crazy that's still going on.
I hope it never stops. It is a beautiful program.
I've been in the gym and I've looked at it and I've walked around, but I've never been there.
Yeah, I've seen it too.
We need more programs like that. Even with what we do at the farm, I do to give scholarships out because there are some times where people just need something.
Yeah.
Some of those kids just need somewhere to be.
Yep.
And you always hope it works out. Sometimes they just disappear. I usually try to keep an eye on people and track them down the best I can. But there are just certain realities that circumstantially people need somewhere to be.
Right.
And it doesn't really matter. And for all the joking and everything, at least we're doing something constructive.
Right.
We're teaching self-defense. We're working. We're here. And you're here. And you're with people who will talk to you.
Yeah.
And sometimes you'd be surprised at how much actual just human conversation happens.
Right.
Life situations people talk about, whatever. There is the base 3 rules on the mat. We do not talk about sports, politics, or religion. When you think about that, that takes away most issues that most all humans feel like fighting about. But once you get past those things, pretty much everybody can relate on all levels.
Yeah.
Because we're all just people. We're all just getting by.
Exactly.
You take away some of this, and I will say silly fights of our current age. They're silly.
Yeah.
When you sit there, if we spent our time focusing on the person next to us and that person focused on the person next to them, we would be so much better off. It's like, I'm getting to know J-Lo over here. And J-Lo gets to know, maybe not her sister because you guys probably known each other way too well. But it's that thing where even with so many of the huge issues we have, one of the things that we've lost is that sense of community and taking care of each other. So when you get into stuff like the Rodarte and those programs, it is a community, and it's bringing people together, and you kind of strip away, if some of those kids down there maybe have their gang issues or whatever, or they're coming from a hard home life, and it's giving them somewhere to be, something to do, something to focus on. And it's like idle hands. All right, well, if they're doing this, maybe they're not somewhere where they're going to get that negative attention. Maybe they're not somewhere where they're going to make that choice to go and, ride with that friend who's going to get them in trouble.
Right.
And it's the same thing with anything. It's giving somebody something to focus on,
And kind of like leaving everything else behind.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You're going to go and put your energy into something. It's hard to go out and get in trouble if you go to a gym and get worn out. Your prospects are out. How many times do you go to the gym and go out clubbing afterwards?
Never.
Never.
Yeah,
No one ever does that. I'm going to go get my glutes really packed up, and I'm going to go hit the club afterwards.
Glutes really packed up.
Is that, I don't know.
Get that pump.
That pump, yeah.
Gotta get that pump before we go out.
I realized a while ago that I've slowly lost touch. The interview with the vampire thing, the Lestat, I've completely lost touch with humanity on a lot of levels. So I learn about stuff through, the kids at the gym, the recent vernacular and
Yeah, you just made a reference that I don't think anybody here picked up on except for me.
what was
Queen
that?
of the Damned.
That's another one. But yeah, that's the whole series of books. Interview with the
in
Vampire.
books. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Lestat the Vampire.
Yeah.
He generally chose somebody to be his link to the current times. And that was the whole idea behind a lot of that interaction. So even for me, at the farm, my link to what's going on right now generally is the younger people who come in. So I learn a lot of dabbing when that came out. I was like, what?
Like all the
what's
millennial
dabbing?
stuff.
I was like, oh my God, you're hiding your head. Is somebody hurting you?
Oh my God.
So this is how you stay woke?
This is how I stay woke. Yes. As I stay with the woke and while we're getting our TikToks on and
Yeah. It's
trying to
crazy.
stay relevant in today's society for what that's worth. But and even just common vernacular because it just changes. We're all trying to create our modern idea and what's cool. The latest one is the weird the kids sit around and go she. Yeah.
Dang.
Oh, J-Lo. That got J-Lo's attention. Could you please tell me what that means?
I have no clue, but they, put their wrist, or I don't know what they do.
Yeah, it looks like they're shooting up.
But it's kind of like they say
gee.
sheesh, but they say it all weird, so they're like sheesh.
Oh my God.
I haven't seen this.
I know. I don't have it either.
Yeah.
I'm
See,
like,
that means
I'm
that you're not
behind.
touched.
yeah,
Yes.
seriously. We're always behind on
Or
things.
how about
Oh.
what are those?
Let me pull it
Yeah,
up.
what are
real quick.
What are those?
Yeah.
Well, we're probably going to put sheesh on the
Oh, yeah. So,
We gotta
On the
educate
thumbnail.
that. Yeah.
we're going to sheesh the thumbnail.
Let's
on this.
put a pin in that. Okay, we'll put a pin in that and move on with our day. All right, so
All
we're
right.
getting back to the gym. So I'm
Anyways.
training. I eventually get to my first cage fight. I was traveling. I remember I was working all day and then still having time for personal life. And then I
So
was
you set up
getting
your
in.
first fight and you're still working with this kid?
Yeah.
Dang, that's savage.
Yeah. I was working. I got my first fight. I was training boxing. Eventually, I left Rodarte and started training with a gentleman by the name of Paisani.
Oh, really?
Yes, he was actually my first boxing coach. But he was also one of the first guys who grappled. And I would say he's probably one of the most hardcore dudes I've ever known. In fact, I have made it a point in recent years because I didn't really have a father, so I call him Dad. That's kind of a joke. It always makes him kind of a little awkward. I always see it in his face. He goes, what? But I go Dad, so I call him on Father's Day. Happy Father's Day, Dad.
Aw.
Just to do that.
yeah, just to mess with him.
But he was the one who taught me a lot of my striking and boxing. And then later in life, I was fortunate enough to train with Master Cordero and things like that. But we all got our starts somewhere. So he was teaching me striking. And then I was wrestling up at the Greeley High School with Shane Carwin and Ron Waterman.
Oh, wow.
And I was just getting training in wherever I could because, extreme personalities, there's no kind of halfway. It's like, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
So I tell my jiu-jitsu instructor, this gentleman named Charles, I have a fight coming up. And he just looks at me like, why would you want to do that? And I was like,
He's like, you're still a white belt.
yeah, pretty much. But I was like, well, it seemed like an idea.
I already paid for it, man. I'm in.
Yeah, I'm in. I'm already doing it. I drove to Rollins, Wyoming.
Oh, geez. Okay.
It was in they had a cage set up in their equestrian center.
A horse place?
Or center, yep.
Oh.
And like a little meal hall that they have attached to that. You got to keep in mind, back at this point, boxing commissions are relatively young, especially for MMA. And for a long time, they flat didn't exist. So back then, it was, we were on an honor system about taking care of ourselves, blood work, things like that. But
Yeah.
you went and you took these fights, and that's what you did. So for my very first fight, I got angry. Yeah, I didn't have a concept of what I was really getting into. I was there, and I was there to fight. I knew that. So I was like, okay, what do I need to fight? I got angry. So I, in this moment, drummed up and summoned up every wrong that was ever done to me.
To kind of give you that,
Oh, yeah.
that,
I was able,
Okay.
because through wrestling and stuff, I knew how to visualize. You visualize. And I visualized horrible stuff. Horrible, horrible, hateful, terrible, terrible anger. And I remember it was just me. You know, there were other people that I knew from training and kind of stuff, but it was just me. I had a water bottle. I went out to the cage and I put my water bottle in the corner. And I climbed into that cage. And I was fit to be tied. And I stepped toe to toe, and he was big. Like, I'm a big boy these days, but, you know, heavyweight fights, there were no weight limits. This guy was 6'7". He's that much taller than me. I remember I was staring straight up at him.
Dang.
And I was like, all right, fuck this guy. I am not leaving here. I am not losing. So at that point, this is where the blackout happens. Everything gets quiet. I know, it's so suspenseful.
I know.
I remember getting there, and I remember throwing my punch, and I remember seeing his punch coming at my face. Whap. And I remember the flash, and then I remember I was wrestling again. It was like I flashed back to like college wrestling, and I was confused as where I was, and I remember in that moment I was convinced. I was like, I could hear my coaches, I could hear the crowd, and I was like, double leg. And I remember at the point, because this is where one of the gym jokes comes in. It's like, the old Mike Tyson line of, you know, everybody has a game plan until they get punched in the face.
Yep.
Or even, you know, you've heard me say it's like, you know, most ground guys always say they're going to knock a guy out. Yeah, that's usually never true.
Yep.
So you get socked in the face. And I remember, you know, I just was not in that same place. So I was wrestling. So I remember I got my takedown. And for a moment I came to after I got him on the ground. And I looked around. You know, this stuff, it's happening in slow-mo, but it's also happening very quick. It's such a surreal experience, adrenaline and crowds. And we're talking drunk cowboy crowds. Because most of those old shows back then, you know, they didn't make their money on ticket sales. They made them on alcohol licensing.
Oh, okay.
So the crowds, they take long intermissions to make sure everybody got their drink on. So the crowd's going crazy. And I'm on this guy, I got him down. And it stopped for a second. I remember looking over at my friend Cruz. Because back then we used to get together before the fights and pick who was the referee that night.
Oh, what?
Yeah. So Cruz was the referee that night. He trained down towards Longmont. And I realized, I was like, oh shit, I gotta punch this guy.
Because you got him on the ground.
He's on the ground. Oh shit, I gotta hit him. So I rise up into neon belly. And this is, Anthony knows, but for the rest of you, essentially we just ride our shin across your chest or your stomach, and we raise up. So we're putting all of our weight on you, but we're balanced on you. And I unleash every punch I had. Like, I punched as hard and with everything I possibly had. And all of a sudden I felt this, ugh, and I got knocked off. And I was off of him. And I remember panicking, like, fuck, he knocked me off. I got to get back on him. I scramble, I run back in, and I'm about to hit his face. And all of a sudden I see Cruz. He's like, Danny, you won. Stop.
Oh, what?
So looking at the video, and this is a little known secret, you can actually still find my first fight on YouTube.
What?
I don't tell people how. It's almost like one of those mystery things. You have to really look.
Oh.
But it is out there. It does exist in the world of YouTube.
That's badass.
You can't find it by using my name. You have to use the show, and I'm not telling. It is a scavenger hunt, and I'm sure that I know. Honestly, it keeps the mystique alive because you got to kind of have a little bit of mystique.
Right.
But it
Fair.
does exist out there. So that's what I'll tell people. My very first MMA fight does exist on the internet, but it's a scavenger hunt. You have to figure it out.
Fair enough.
The big details, you got to figure out the fight name of the fight show because it's a very old account. We're talking, holy shit, 2004.
Okay.
That was when my first fight was, maybe 2005.
That's crazy, man.
That was a long time ago. When
That was in
dinosaurs
the
roamed
fourth
Earth.
grade.
So now, oh wait, never mind. I was gonna ask, like, was that the first fight that you've ever been to? But no, because you did that very
tough one.
first fight.
I had been well. We'll finish this part.
Yeah.
So I realize afterwards I'm done. They tell me I win. And Cruz is sitting there. So they showed me on someone's phone, or not phone, on someone's camcorder, what it looked like. And what had happened is I got on him and I knocked him out.
Oh.
I got
okay.
him. And I was still hitting him.
Oh.
So Cruz tackled me off of the guy.
Oh, what?
But I didn't realize what was going on. And Cruz is about Anthony's size, so I grabbed him and threw him the fuck off. I got back on and started hitting him. So completely no recollection of it. Most people, so one of those kind of weird things is that most people actually don't even remember their first actual fight. Anthony, do you remember your first tournament match?
I do actually. The guy.
That's good.
Yeah, he put himself in a triangle.
That's hot.
It's pretty fast. Yeah.
But the speed was off and the perception was off.
Yeah, 5 minutes is extremely fast.
Yes. But when you sit around and you're anticipating something, it's very slow.
A 5 minute roll is insanely long, but a 5 minute match is like, it feels like 2 minutes.
Exactly. So it was all very much a perspective thing. So I get done with that and it changed me. I haven't been mad since. Like something in me just changed that day. The adrenaline, it would.
He punched the mat out of you.
Maybe. Or I punched the mat out of myself. Or
Yeah.
I broke or, whatever. However you want to describe it. I have not been mad. I've been frustrated. I've had things that have hurt me. But actual sheer anger, I just don't have it anymore. So whatever happened to me on that day, the adrenaline was amazing. Oh, there's some things in life, and I would equate this because I haven't skydived. I have skydived. But it's a lot of those things when you do this type of things, you go, fuck. And then how do you get back there again? Because that's the adrenaline junkie part of you. If you have that, it's like getting another fix. How do I get there again? How? What do I got to do? Well, in this realm, it's like, okay, cool. I'm going to go train for another fight. But it was different. I couldn't summon up anger anymore. I felt very quiet in life. I remember even sitting there and playing with the kids. Like there was nothing that happened at work, nothing that happened anywhere that I was just like, here, cool, whatever. That's your choice. Cool. You do that. Whatever makes you happy. So it actually took me a while to fight again because I kind of had to rediscover what it was I was fighting for and what in me made me want to fight.
Right.
So it took me a while. So during all that, so still working, still doing stuff. Apparently I put on a good show, so promoters started wanting me. My number got out. People started hitting me up. Oddly enough, the same phone number 20-some years later.
That's awesome.
I know.
It's kind of funny. Yeah, I'm one of those. I've had the same phone number forever, so it's kind of random. Random side note, I had a friend from middle school call me.
Wow.
Yeah, just randomly.
Recently?
Yeah. He actually showed up at the gym for a clinic. He trains as a blue belt, just completely divergent paths.
Dang.
But he found jiu-jitsu and came across me at a tournament and tracked me down.
That is awesome.
Yeah, just those kind of weird things that kind of happen in life where you're like, wow.
That's pretty cool.
Who are you? No. I remembered him completely and I was like, wow. Well, there you have it. That's
that's a real
how
moment.
life brought you together. But so yeah, I had to go back and almost just redefine myself, refigure out what it was I wanted to do. So in all that time, still training, still going around, started finding different training partners. This is one of those times I fell in with Gaethje, actually, around later in that time, and it's all kind of skewed. Because what people don't realize is Greeley actually has a very rich fight history. It's kind of like the untold underground story of there's been a lot of really good fighters who have not only been here but have come through here. Henry Cejudo trained out of here for a little while.
Really?
the one that I just mentioned, Ron Waterman, Shane Carwin, some of the up and comers right now, like J Train.
I went to school
kids.
actually with
Ron Waterman's son.
Yeah.
yeah. So that was pretty crazy.
So it's really interesting because a lot of people don't realize that Greeley actually has a very rich fight history. But the funny thing is when you start talking about history, we're really only talking about maybe 20 years.
And I think that's what blows my mind, man.
Because a lot happens in the fight world,
Yeah.
even in a year.
Yeah, seriously.
Even the joke we've said about, can you really call yourself a fighter if you haven't fought in 6 months? The collective, the social media conditioning that we all exist under, it really makes it so that people forget about you. If they don't hear your name or you're not popping up constantly, there's a few people out there, but if we got real, so we take one of the bigger names that's been around, John Jones. If he dropped off the map and just stopped doing anything, stopped tweeting, stopped talking trash, it wouldn't take long for the world to forget about him.
I know.
He would have his place in the Hall of Fame, and he'd have a lot of that. But the new fan base, which is always adding the newer people, he would be forgotten because the nature of what we do is like that. People don't remember the old champions like they do. And it's kind of almost sad, but it's the nature of what you do.
It'd be like a GSP coming back for a Khabib fight.
Yeah.
It's like really only like the old school fight fans are really going to have like the...
But for the most part, people go GSP.
Like,
They
who?
don't really do much.
Who's
Yeah,
GSP?
who's that? And then, if you
Oh,
put
the guy that
together...
fought Bisping?
We got our 5-minute montage on the UFC
Right.
Access or whatever they name their shows now. And now you're up to speed. Okay, he's him.
Yeah,
But there's no real concept of who that guy was.
right.
I was always a huge Cerrone fan. Had the opportunity to cross paths with him and learn with him. And
Really?
Cool.
yeah,
Dang.
well, that's kind of how it is you're on these traveling trips or you go and you cross paths. Shameless self-plug. We're about to have Jeff Glover training at our gym again. I've crossed paths with him many times, through training and had the opportunity to learn with him. And those are those kind of relationships that you start up with. And the reality is it's a blink in time for most people. Can you remember a specific week where you hung out with some random person? Do you, J-Lo? You hung out with some new person for a week and you shared whatever. And then you parted ways again. And then you just reconnected randomly down the road. It's like, well, hey, I have something to give. Okay, cool. We're going to set this up and we're going to do work.
Dang. Okay. I see what you're saying. So it's like, kind of like before, it's like you guys are just kind of like normal people, just doing your own thing. And then it's like later on, it's like you guys actually reconnect and you guys both have something to offer, like what you're saying.
Exactly.
And
crazy.
that's what's beautiful about timing because it's almost like the era that you were kind of coming up and like putting yourself in a position to be involved with all this stuff is literally the prime time era. Because like that's literally some of the people that you're naming: Henry Cejudo, Gaethje. Like I've heard you bring up Brenden Schaub before.
Yeah, Brenden Schaub.
That's crazy.
Like
Yeah.
that blows my mind, man. I mean, Shane Carwin, that's huge. I mean, Greeley, that's really big, right? Ron Waterman, if you're from Greeley, you definitely know who this is. Like
But it's one of those, like, if you sit there and you hang out and you're in the B-dubs and you listen to people talk about fights, they're talking about just what's going on right now. So it even gets funny because I don't watch as many fights as I once did. Ever so often something will pique my attention and I'll be like, I'm going to watch that. But the UFC will make you go broke.
for sure. Oh my gosh, so expensive.
It's like I pay for this, and then I still got to drop money to watch these fights. Are you kidding me, dude?
No.
So I do pick and choose. But two, it's just I've watched a lot of fighting in my life.
Yeah.
So there's only so much time you can devote because this is the other side of the time. I could make time to watch these fights. Could. But sometimes I spend my time, I'll read. Or I spend time with those I care about. Or
I guess it's
whatever.
different if it's like your life.
Exactly.
Like when you clock out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
When you have your day job, it's like, well, when you clock out of your day job, do you want to go home and do what you do all day in your day job?
Right.
Not always. No. I mean, I do my best to manage my time the best I can, and I try to be there as much as I can. But the honest reality is that you spend a lot of time mostly managing yourself and just trying to stay functional sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the big battle anyways, is what am I doing? Who can I be there for? What can I do today? You wake up every morning, what can I do today? Who can I take care of?
Mm-hmm.
All right, I need to take care of myself, because if I can't take care of myself, I can't take care of anyone else. So I have to start there.
Mm.
So coffee.
Coffee.
So coffee. Must have coffee.
It gets you by.
Most people at the gym know. If you bring me a random bag of coffee from somewhere, I'm very gracious.
Oh,
Thankful,
okay.
yes.
Duly noted.
Yeah, duly noted. Yes, number of people.
I'm like, promotion's coming up soon.
Yeah, promotions are coming up.
No, just kidding.
The freezer has a lot of random coffees in there because people be on their own paths and stop and get coffees. And even me, I found a few places. So if you're ever in Dallas, shameless plug for a business I know nothing about. There's this place called Buzz Brews in Dallas, and I've been there a lot because one of my longtime instructors, Octavio Cato, he was based out of Dallas for a while. These days, he's based out of Italy.
Wow.
He's one of those world travelers that I choose to learn from.
That's cool.
But I remember when I go out there and train with him across the street from the school, there's a hotel they had to deal with. So I'd go there and stay in this hotel for cheap. And in the parking lot was this place called Buzz Brews. 24 hours a day, 30 brands of coffee on tap, 24 hours a day.
Wow.
Dang.
It's a lot of coffee.
They're serious about
Yeah.
their coffee game.
Yeah. Well, and then when you get to some of those bigger areas, like when I lived in Los Angeles, when I'd be hanging out in Dallas, their schedule. So people think we do a lot at the farm because, some of our earliest classes are 6 a.m. The price is right.
Go on Mondays.
Yes, go on Mondays. But, if the price is right, you can do private lessons there, straight up middle of the night. There are people who do that. We try to make the gym as available to train whenever fits into schedules because there's a lot of people out there who don't have conventional lives.
Mm-hmm.
They don't get up and do the 9 to 5. Some people work all night. Some people work half shifts, swing shifts, whatever.
Yeah.
And the idea is that you're working to train.
Mm-hmm.
So you try to make it as available. But when you get into some of those bigger towns and areas, they'll have a midnight class. They'll have a 2 a.m. class.
Wow.
That's kind of badass.
I know. That's
Well, when
pretty
you
cool.
think about it, but you're also thinking about towns that, like Los Angeles, didn't sleep. They had a 9 a.m. and a 9 p.m. They had a noon and a midnight. They had a 6 a.m. and a 6 p.m. So it was literally these kind of clockwork classes where it's like there's always something happening 24 hours a day. But we are talking about towns and areas where there's just as many people. Have you guys been to Los Angeles?
Mm-hmm.
And so,
Yeah.
you stick your head out the door at 2 a.m. and then you stick your head out the door at 2 in the afternoon. And there's just as many people
Right.
at both times a day.
Yeah, seriously.
Like the beaches probably would be full all night
Yeah.
if they didn't literally send the cops out
Right.
there
Right.
and tell
They
people
didn't
to
shut
get
it
the
down.
hell off the
Yeah.
fucking beach.
you can't sleep here.
Yes. So people kind of go, "Wow, you got a lot going on." It's like, yeah, because we're trying to make sure that everybody can do this.
That's awesome.
Right.
It's access, We're giving people a place to be.
That is amazing.
So what else is there? You got a place to be.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no excuses.
Mm.
Or we try to limit your excuses. Because again, one excuse to do, but you make
Right.
a million excuses not to do something. Too easy.
Because it's easier to do that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But that's what I want to know. How did you get there? So you're training.
Such a convoluted story.
You're training with Gaethje in the basement, doing stuff at West with Carwin.
So I fought for a couple more years, and actually what ended is I ended up taking 2 fights in a week.
In 1 week?
In 1 week. There was no boxing commission, so we could do whatever.
But what about your face?
Who could love this face? Let's be real. But
Oh my god.
I know that was awful. That one.
Oh my God.
Somebody somewhere is going to hate me on that one.
Or love you.
Maybe. So I believe it was 2007, 2008, probably 2007. I ended up with 2 fights, back-to-back weekends. I won a title belt. It was a beautiful night. I won in Douglas County at the Douglas County Event Center. I had Shane Carwin in my corner. I won one of those fancy belts on the wall at the farm.
Wow.
Now it's just a weird old grumpy looking thing that's all cracked and faded and covered in dust. But there it is. It's on the wall.
Dang.
I won a title, one for the show. That guy had me on the ropes. He knocked me down, and I remember because it was very funny because this show was one of the bigger shows, so I did a lot of promotional stuff. So that's why I said I've been interviewed before. I went on a radio station. It was really cool because it was down near Colorado Springs. So I was on a radio station I listened to growing up.
That's cool.
That's
So I was all, and they were talking about it, and it was funny. I was a blue belt. They were calling me a submission master.
Oh, snap.
And I remember sitting there at the time because by then I'd encountered like an actual master in jiu-jitsu and some of that stuff. And I'd come across some of the really kind of good grapplers by that point. And I was like, yeah, blue belt really, it means a lot to me, but it's, I'm not. Yeah, no. But, for the media purposes, you got to talk it up. Like, yeah, And at that point, thanks to my many years of of enjoying professional wrestling, I totally would get into it. I used to even shave my beard and get kind of colors.
Get all the character.
Oh, yeah. I would play it up because a lot of promoters would actually pay me to show up and talk crowds up because I've never had a problem talking in front of people. So I'd go to these shows in the hopes of getting a fight, but the guy wouldn't show up. So the promoter would be like, hey, can you work the crowd for me?
Okay.
Climb into the cage of the ring. I'd be like, I enjoyed playing the heel more than the hero because as a hero, you're nice to everybody and stuff, but you could really play that. I'd get in there. It's like, it really smells like blah, 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 state and country and city. And just really work it over.
Right.
It's like,
trying to hype up everybody.
I know that none of this matters because most of you guys are too drunk to even find the way out of this place. I would work the crowd bad. Like I said, it was more fun to be the heel.
Yeah.
But a lot of the promoters would actually pay me to do
Oh, I'm
that.
sure they loved it.
Oh, yeah. I would get the crowd riled up and get them. And I would throw challenges out there. It's like, I know there's no one in here who even could. Man, you'd probably trip and fall and break your arm before you got into the cage and allowed me to pleasure breaking your arm for you. Are you kidding me?
That's freaking epic.
I would hammed it the fuck up. Because it was fun. It was awesome.
Yeah.
I'd teaching school by day and then wander off on
know,
the
man.
weekends.
What the hell?
Go and
Just
just cause issues.
Living this double life.
Yes. So, I'm doing that training and whatnot. And then I took these 2 fights in the weekend. Took one fight, won. Next weekend, it was a good fight. I was ready. Took the next fight, I lost.
Damn.
TKO. I was out on my feet.
Ooh.
Out on your feet?
Well, one of my friends was the ref, and he stopped the fight. So
okay.
Danny, you were just taking punishment. Of course, the fighter in me was like, fuck you, dude. I was still on my feet. I was still fighting.
Yeah.
I was probably out on my feet. One of those, as an older guy, you're like, yeah, I probably was just taking brain damage at that point.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good call now, so if you're out there, David, thank you. But, so I took the fight. I went to work that next Monday, and I remember this more than anything else. I remember following a kid, a little snot-nosed, one of my people, a ginger kid.
It's one of my people.
One of my people, the ginger people. Everybody else can talk about their people. My people, the gingers. We steal souls and fall in love with them. But I followed this kid in, and I remember looking down at him, and I remember he smiled at me, and I didn't catch on that he had the door. So I was standing in the door frame looking down, so my head was tilted forward. He slammed the door on my face.
Oh.
And it knocked me clean out.
Dang.
Oh, what?
So for the next 6 months of my life, it was Swiss cheese.
What?
By
So-
meaning.
I was severely concussed, severe brain trauma.
Oh, wow.
What?
It was a real thing because I took 2 fights in a week and took a
Another.
door to the face.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
So
That
I was
triple concussion.
messed up. Most of the people who knew me around that time, Luke at the gym, he knew me around that time. They would tell me I was just walking dead. because I still had all my same stuff. Like I'd still shown up to the gym to train, but I couldn't
Dang.
train. I had this gnarly vertigo. So every time I get on the mat and roll, it was like I didn't stop moving. So I'd roll and then I'd stop, but it felt like I was still rolling.
Oh,
So
wow.
just this vertigo, and it took me a while to recover from that. So while I was recovering, I kind of took this, I started helping other people, talking them through and teaching them stuff because I had devoted myself more to the jiu-jitsu than a lot of people around did. And a lot of fighters even to this day still do. I mean, these days it's more or less a battle of, athletes going out and building themselves up. Super athlete, wind them up, teach them a few defenses, teach them how to throw some combos and throw them out into the world to go kick ass. So I kind of took the role of coaching and stuff, but I was pretty trashed, and I kind of lost my heart because, the doctors gave this is bad brain trauma.
Oh, wow.
Don't fight. You shouldn't fight. We're getting into the territory of you may die.
Wow.
So heartbroken. Another stint of depression, same thing,
Dang.
just like with wrestling. I was like, well, now what? So I was still showing up because I didn't know what else to do with myself and still trying to be okay with everyone that I cared about at the time. And so I started kind of just falling off. And around the same time, I'd switched jobs and I was working in an abuse victims classroom.
Oh, geez.
So it was ran through social services, super severe kids. So still preschool grade, but we're talking horrible sexual abuse.
Oh, my gosh.
Yes, horror stories. So I was kind of in a weird funk for a little while. Like I was still doing what I
that
could.
can't be good for your mental.
Yeah, I was still, keeping my usual disposition, my terrible jokes, but it was tough days. Tough days. So I came to the end of that stint, and it was during 2008, the last recession. I always remember that. Funding for the program, because it was through social services, had run out. I always had a place with my old boss, but I was just kind of done doing this job. I was giving a lot of myself. And so I remember I was done. Program was done. They quit the funding. Didn't have a job. I went and sat at home, and I played video games for a week. Like I just didn't do anything for a week.
Yeah.
And I remember made people upset with me. You're not doing anything. You should do something. And I was like, I'm going to take a week off. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to take a week off. That's all. Didn't fight. Didn't argue. I was like, no, just here. You want to go out to dinner? You want to hang out? But for the most part, I was trying to be as quiet as possible. It's sort of like when you've been overstimulated, you go out, or if you ever had one of those really big arguments, and then you had to just kind of go and just lick your wounds and just be quiet.
Like decompress.
Yeah. So my week ended because I did. I always do my damnedest to be a man of my word. I was like, I'm going to take a week off and I'll go get a job. Took my week off. I walked into a weight room. I got a job.
Oh, wow.
So complete change, just complete shift. Little bit of a pay cut, but as one of those at that point, I was like, I just need to do something different. So I started working at this weight room, working the front desk, got up at 4 a.m. every morning, went and opened the gym, sat at a desk, cleaned the gym. Life was good. Simple. That's all I wanted, simple. Didn't overthink things. I was making enough money to get by. I was kind of helping people, but I kind of fell off the fight scene for a little while. Wasn't doing anything. Still training a little bit of jiu-jitsu, but I just needed to kind of be on my own for a little bit. I was soul searching. I traveled, hopped in my car and drove off randomly here and there. Just doing. And I was hanging out at this gym, and one day someone came in and recognized me. Danny, what are you doing? I was like, I'm working, man. Those usual things people come up. What are you doing? And you look around and you're like,
What does it look like I'm doing?
I believe I am working.
Like I got this
work here.
uniform for
I
a
know,
reason.
yeah. But maybe I'm not. I don't, what did you hear?
What are you doing?
Exactly. And I was like, no, just working the front desk, lifting weights. And, I was lifting weights. What else do you do? You're in a gym, you lift weights, and you talk to people. And the guy was excited. Like, oh, yeah, I saw that fight. And, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. So another gentleman at the gym heard me. A gentleman by the name of Justin. He had been training and wanting to do some of this stuff, and he wandered up to me and started talking to me about fights. At that point, I was like, man, I'll teach some kids here and there. I'd kind of been, teaching a little bit of classes and just kind of teaching people randomly, nothing formal. I wasn't wanting to do anything too formal. It's like, no, just whatever. Keeps asking me questions. Became this weird thing because he'd come in. He was a salesperson. Come in and start talking to me. I'd be hanging out. And this gym was pretty gritty. I'm not going to drop names, but it was the kind of weight room where guys went in to, throw large weights around while wearing ankle monitors and stuff like that. So it was a pretty hardcore gym. People were there to lift weights and be strong and whatnot. And they had a little bit of a fight scene going on. They had a ring in there and stuff. And so I was literally like the janitor. I could walk around and mop.
Yeah. You're just like watching
Yeah,
people.
just watching, super quiet.
Right.
And the opportunity came up to start teaching. And I was like, you know what? All right, cool. I'll do this. I'll teach kids.
At that gym.
I was
At
going to
that
say,
gym,
is this
at the
out
weight
of the
room.
gym?
Yep, out of the weight room.
Okay.
I was like, I'll teach kids.
I think I know what place you're talking about,
Yeah.
actually.
Well, and at this point, my original jiu-jitsu instructor also retired, so a lot of the club kind of fell apart. Guys were kind of going in their own directions.
Okay.
And I'd been teaching. Like, I'd go out and teach at Z's and teach at a few places, but I was kind of just part-time in it, not trying to do too much.
What rank are you at the time?
At that point, I was actually a brown belt.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because I had been all about it through my fighting and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I kind of just stopped. Just kind of like,
Yeah.
But tournament-wise, I'd done a lot of really good stuff by then. Like, I had won Grappler's Quest. I'd won a lot of these tournaments. I was still wearing a blue belt, but I won purple belt Pan Ams.
Dang.
Oh, wow.
So I'd done a lot of these tournaments and won a lot of stuff. But I was just kind of, I can't fight. What do I do with myself now? So I start teaching. And, they had other fighters there teaching and running classes. So I was content. And then, some of the other coaches sometimes wouldn't show up, and I'd kind of step in and help guys, or I'd make suggestions. And there was another gentleman by the name of Ryan Martinez who came in, and me and him had a fair amount of history. He was another fighter. He became a Bellator, almost a champion. He was right there.
Dang.
But he was training out of the gym and doing stuff, and he was also cleaning up his life and trying to do that. But me and him actually met wrestling. In the wrestling world, there was one year where he was the freestyle state champion. I was the Greco state champion. There's two styles of wrestling.
Oh, okay.
But it was me and him in the championship both times.
Oh, wow.
That's badass.
So me and him knew each other, and he recognized me as like the janitor in the corner. Because I yucked it up. I was totally all about it. Like, I'm just the janitor here.
Yeah.
Like wearing the janitor uniform to all your competitions.
Nothing quite like that, but just, just wearing my T-shirt and shorts and just working. And
Right.
so I started teaching, and then, this kid kept, so I started kind of helping him, talking to him about stuff, and started teaching a little bit more. And before I knew it, they had me locked in for all these classes, and I was like, well, shit, if I'm doing this, I might as well do it. So then I started kind of running a full program, and then when the gym expanded, they had 2 locations. I've always been very good with logistics and communication. There's a person out in the world who says I'm terrible at communication. Everyone else in the world thinks I'm really great about it, so I don't know, There's those moments in life where you're like, well, everyone else I could talk to.
Yeah. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So I started kind of building this little club and just kind of running things. And then I got an opportunity because I was better and healthier to go to Los Angeles.
Okay.
Because through some of my connections, I got called up by Fabricio Werdum. And he's like, Dunny. I always do the voices. The Brazilians. Dunny. I got a big fight coming. I need a big wrestler. And I'd always kind of earned the nickname Dumb Wrestler.
What?
That's what they all called me, Dumb Wrestler. And I was like, all right, yeah, that sounds awesome. So I kind of dropped everything and I moved out there for a couple months.
God, man.
Was that the first time you were living out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just lived the fight life.
Fabricio Werdum. What year is this?
Oh, 10, somewhere in that range.
Okay, so he's definitely already in the UFC.
Yes, this was his fight against Matt Mitrione.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So,
What?
so if you want the real date, it's a couple months before that fight. So whatever date that fight is.
Dang.
God, that's
Because I
so
had known
wild.
him, because I had traveled out there to train with him, because I'd known, and it was kind of one of those things, and that's actually where I first met my instructor, Octavio, who was teaching Fabricio at the time, and then Fabricio, he did the unthinkable. He submitted the unsubmittable, which was this gentleman by the name of Fedor Emelianenko. The dude was untouchable for years, just this crazy Russian who probably literally just beat the shit out of bears for fun.
Right. Definitely
middle-
going down.
In the
Hall
middle of
Fame for sure.
Siberia. Yeah.
He's like the heavyweight version of Khabib.
Yeah.
Oh,
He
wow.
was just such a monster for so many years in the middle of nowhere.
He looks like Uncle Fester, but like,
Yeah, Uncle Fester. I don't know. Yeah. I remember
But
because at the
dangerous.
time they were trying to make gyms big, and he trained out of a gym called the Red Devil Gym. And, you know, it was very much the Rocky scenario with Ivan Drago and, you know, just this unstoppable juggernaut of a fighter who nobody had even come close. So I go out there and I do the life, training 3 times a day. I take the opportunity to compete at the Worlds 2013,
all in Los Angeles.
all in Los Angeles. So yeah, it's
Dang.
2013. Oh yeah, it's 2013.
That's when I graduated.
There you have it. So that's what I was doing.
God,
while you were
that's so
graduating.
wild.
That is really crazy, actually.
Damn, Danny.
What?
So I go out there. I'm training 3 times a day. It was such a beautiful opportunity. I'm technically not supposed to be fighting and stuff, but that fire in me still burning. So I'm out there training and I'm holding my own. Like there were a lot of learning curve, but I was doing all right. I'm not saying I was special or anything. I was just a guy in the back of the gym. We used to refer to guys, my role as the workhorse. You know, I carried the weight. I was there to just give them work. So we used to refer to it as stables. So the whole stable is there for the lead horse. Fabricio is the lead horse. The rest of us are there for support.
Okay.
So if he needs somebody to punch, if he needs someone to wrestle,
I see.
show up, get to work. So at the same time, I'm also had this great opportunity. I get to teach at his home gym at that time, Venice Beach. They hooked me up with a hotel so I can walk to Venice Beach,
Dang,
take
that's
that
cool.
whole thing in, training multiple times a day. All I have to do is I had to work for it, which means I was teaching at the gym, and I was kind of I was cabana boy status.
Yeah.
So it's like they call me up for, Dunny, we need a driver. So I'm there.
Yeah.
You know, because if I drove, that means I got to be wherever,
Right.
You know, got to be at the parties, do all the stuff. So it was like this couple month just intensive camp where I just met and trained and learned, and day in, day out with Master Cordero, day in, day out, you know, sparring, Machida, Anderson Silva.
And what was going on in your mind at that time? Like,
I know,
were
are you
like, is this-
starstruck?
Right. It's like, were you just like, dang, this is crazy. Like, how did I even end up here? Or
So
So
you're like,
one of those
"Shit."
stories, and I'm sure I'll get punched in the face for this one. One of my big fans, because one of the very first fights I ever saw, Vanderlei Silva. Yeah, that was one of those ones that, because I had met a few of these other guys, so after you meet, you kind of learn that they're people, you know. And they're the fight guys. There's images that they'll portray, so it's kind of like, you know, I talked about get in the cage and play the heel and stuff. That happens all the time in fighting. It's, you know, These days, it's even worse because the more outrageous you are, the more controversial you are. The more you can
Right.
get, and maybe you can make
The
more money.
Covingtons,
Yes,
the
yes,
Masvidals,
yes.
McGregors, right?
Yes. But when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, there are aspects of their personality in that, but that's not them.
Right.
It's not. So, so I'm sitting in King's, and I'm surrounded by all these guys, and we're about to have a grappling session, and I'm psyching myself up a little bit because I'm looking around the mat and it's like, fuck, dude, it's gonna be I'm gonna take a beating today. So it's like, all right, get my gear on, and you're like, oh, that's what I'm here for. So those days, Anthony, you can relate. We've all been there. Those days where you come in, you walk in, you look around the mat, and you're like,
You just know.
I'm gonna get an ass whooping today.
All right.
But that's part of it. I'm here. That's what I'm here for. Today I'm gonna win, or maybe I'm gonna lose, but whatever. That's what I'm here for. I'm sitting on the mat, and Vanderlei Silva walks in. Vanderlei Silva, fighter, his nickname, the Axe Murderer. You see him on some of his interviews. Dude is a fucking beast of a fighter.
Yeah, he looks scary.
Oh,
And then he starts talking, and then he gets scarier.
that's not his normal voice, though.
Really?
His normal voice is a little bit higher optic.
What?
So I'm sitting there, and he walks in,
Yeah, look at that beast.
Oh,
and
okay.
he has a little bag under his
what?
arm, and in that bag is a chihuahua.
Oh my!
Hey guys,
No
hey
way!
guys, all cheery, and he's like taking his chihuahua out and passing. All the guys are passing around him, playing with this dog. Yeah, and he goes around and he's like, they find somebody to watch his dog so he can train. He goes in the back and then he gets his stuff on, and it's like a switch. He comes out, and now he's on the mat. Now he's Vanderlei. It's time to roll.
Dang.
But it was in those moments where I was watching this happen. It's just a guy in the corner, just stretching and being ready to work. And I go, and there you have it. So I got a picture. It's the same picture that's on the wall. That was that same day.
Seen it?
Yeah. And it was one of those moments where I was just like, it was that revelation that people are just people. People are always just people. Time defines all things.
Yep.
Who people really are. And people change over time. That's the truth of doesn't matter who you are.
I feel like I
So-
had a similar experience when I went to Cali this last time with Henry. We went for the jiu-jitsu tournament.
Yep.
And, dude, the whole thing was wild. Like, the whole setup, the build-up was crazy, But then meeting Jeff Glover and Dean Lister, like it is kind of weird seeing, like, celebrities. I don't know if that's what you would call them. I guess in the jiu-jitsu world, they're celebrities. But
Those
it's like,
guys have even reached a fair amount of mainstream. I mean, Dean Lister, he had his heyday for a while
Right,
and
the
was a very
boogeyman.
popular. Yep, very popular. He was a champion at one of the biggest shows. When I first was doing ADCC, it used to be an invite-only tournament, and they
Really?
invited only the cream of the crop, and you had to be invited by the Sheik, or you had to earn an invite. And when I won Grappler's Quest, I earned an invite. And it was
Dang.
exciting. But then you still had to get your ass halfway around the world. So I was like, well, that's cool. I got this cool letter, and I'm sure I still have it in a box.
Dang,
Probably
that's
in
cool.
my little attic at the gym. So I have a weird, I usually try not to glory days, so there's a lot of stuff that just got thrown into a box. You don't throw it away. Like, I'm sure I have a bunch of old medals and just random stuff in a box somewhere. The original drawings for the gym logos, things like that.
Dang.
Uh,
That's
but it
pretty
really,
cool, though.
it really almost like becomes like mind fucking because it's like, especially nowadays, like with social media, like just how much access you have on your phones.
yeah.
Like I see these people almost every day on my phone,
Yeah.
like literally. So it's kind of weird. You see them in person and other people there aren't really like paying attention, you
Yeah.
know? So it's like, why am I being weird right now? Like, what's wrong with me?
Well, and you go to the tournaments, like, people don't realize the Denver fight scene is so
Yeah.
bumping. Like, you go to some of the tournaments down there, and Neil Magny's one of the referees, and you know what I mean? And there's a lot of these guys where people pay and fucking go out of their way to have access to these guys, and they're hanging out spending their day reffing tournaments.
Right.
And
Because they want to be there. Yeah.
And it's just another part of our world.
Yeah, it was mind blowing. Like they're just normal ass people, man. Like just super, super normal. Like we just had regular conversations there.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's almost like another humbling experience where it's just like, yeah, like they're just doing their thing, man. Like,
yeah, we all are.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, what have you done with your life?
right,
They have happened to do things that are of note.
right.
But so we turn. I keep calling out J-Lo. She's the one who's not really as engaged. I think that's her role. But as we're mentioning these names mean nothing to you. Who's your favorite musician right now? That WAP song.
I know.
I guess I would say Mac Miller.
Okay, Mac Miller. Mac Miller walks in right now because he's trying to find the bathroom.
And he's not dead.
Oh, I don't know about Mac Miller. Did I just do like a major faux pas?
If he walks in the room, I'm fucking flying out of my chair.
Okay, fair enough.
I'm
That was a terrible example.
But yeah, I mean,
Swing
I know
and
what
a
you're saying
miss.
though. Like for example, like Travis Scott or all those famous people.
Yeah. There are those moments in life, like I was flying. God, I don't even remember now. I ran into Wee Man.
What?
Yeah. So we're sitting there, and then we're sitting next to each other. We start bullshitting. And at this point, I'd already been doing this stuff for a while because in a lot of my early years, I didn't really care about pictures and stuff. So I know. So later in life, I started taking pictures. And one of those funny things, like the Instagram account, I started that originally when I was in Los Angeles.
Oh, wow.
And I started it at the urging of Babalu.
Okay.
Because Babalu was like, you got to start getting on top.
Do you need to get in on this?
At that point. So we're finally getting to the point of Danny's opening a gym. Because at this point, I was like, I've been thinking about kind of going on my own, but, I've never run a business. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, all the excuses come in.
Yes. Yes. So this is where Babalu was such an influence in my life because he was very much like, well, what are you going to be sitting still? You just going to sit here for the rest of your life?
Uh-huh.
It's like, Danny, you've already kind of, you're like, it's great that you're here with us and you're keeping up, but you're at the end. And at this point, he was still kind of there. And he even at that point was like, well, eventually we all reach the end. This is not a sustainable life. Jiu-jitsu is one thing. You can roll. The great stories. You can keep rolling and practicing.
You can roll hard, too.
Yeah. But the fight life, only so many years. Your average professional, 5 years. That's average. There are some guys who have lasted much longer. There are a lot of guys who only made it months, couple fights. They made it to the top and fell apart. The fight life is not a sustainable life. It is not a sustainable existence. You have X amount of time. You only have so many punches you're going to throw and so many punches you're going to take. So at some point it ends. And you have to think, what are you going to do with yourself? And it was very eye-opening. Like, what do I want to do? What do I want to do with the rest of my life? And it's not saying I liked the job as a para. I could come back to it. I liked teaching. I liked being in those positions. At that point, I had actually even kept my CNA up. I could always go back to, it was always my fallback. It's like at the very end of the day, I can go back to being a CNA. The job sucked. It's good, honest work. You're taking care of people. But it's like anything. Not everybody there is there for the right reasons.
Dude, that's a good motivator to have.
Seriously.
Yeah. But I always kept it up because I always tried to keep myself in good perspective. Like I always have a fallback. Because that's also one of those. You gotta keep your plan. You gotta keep things ready, because you never know. What you're doing right now might not be what you're doing in a month, a year, weeks, whatever. Shit falls apart all the time.
Right.
Hell, current events, the
Fucking
Rona,
fucking vid.
fucking changed everybody's life. A lot of people had to completely redo their existence because it did. It changed a lot of our lives. That's a massive scale, but relationship changes, job changes. You have to move. God knows what. You're in a car accident. God forbid. Life changes.
I mean, hell, we started this because of COVID.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So that's one of those. Be it good or be it bad, things change. So the question is, are you going to be sitting still? And are you going to continue running forward looking back over your shoulder?
Right.
So I have my experiences out there. I do worlds. I do good. I just missed placing, but it was a massive tournament. The first time on that scale. I made it bigger in my head than it really was. As I remember after my first match, I won. I won pretty decisively. And I walked off, and Fabricio was there, and Lucas was there, who was Fabricio's right-hand man at that time. And they both kind of turned to me. I was like, yeah, see, it wasn't as bad as you thought. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of like college wrestling. And they're like, yeah, so don't lose.
No pressure.
Well, and some of that, I realized over the years that it was a translation thing because they were always very blunt to me in English. But I've realized now I'm still that way even when coaching my own guys. I'm very blunt, like, hey, quit sucking, silly stuff like that. But a lot of it is because some of it is it was put to me, but it's also kind of funny because at the end of the day, it's just simple. And that's what it is if you can stop and slow yourself down and simplify. What is the goal here for our jiu-jitsu? Submit or be submitted. Go out on your shield or come back with it. That's it. And you're going to lose. You're going to win too. So you go do it. That's it. Go do it. And the whole time, you're working on being better. Are you going to be better every day? No. No one's at their best every day. The women in the room. Good hair days or bad hair days? Today was a...
Good day.
Wow. Hey.
Don't lie, we were late.
I know, right? I was
Womp, womp. This thing's going to be cameraed. My hair better be on fucking point. Fucking.
Cindy all
Seriously.
the time.
That vanity over there isn't for me.
Oh.
Oh my gosh.
it's for the guest. Hello.
Fair.
I try not to look at this thing too often. This chassis is a little roughed up.
Isn't Fabricio's still fighting, right? Is he in PFL now?
He's in PFL now. Kind of hit a rough spot. He lost his title. He was the UFC title holder.
Yep.
But like most things, hit a rough spot.
But even then when he was fighting Mitrione, he was still a contender.
Oh, yeah, he was always up there.
Yeah.
Fabricio is one of those, he is the man. I mean, even for rolling.
It's no G.
Yeah.
For sure.
He is one of the originals. He's also one of those that's, for some people, so I just said the average 5 years. Fabricio's been going strong since the Pride days, so we're going on 20-ish years.
It's ridiculous.
So,
That just shows.
Yeah.
Obviously, he has to be pretty damn good to last that long.
Well, it's a combination of things.
You can't take
good
damage.
genetics, the damage, but in experiencing and knowing him, he's taking a lot of damage, and
Oh, I'm sure.
time takes its toll, and other things start becoming more important.
Injuries, yep.
So, but the other side of that, it's hard to give up what you love.
Oh, yeah. Well,
How do you give up on love? That's a question. That's a hell of a question when you think about it. How do you give up on love? Doesn't matter if it's another person. Doesn't matter if it's a car. Doesn't matter if it's a pet. How do you give up on love? It's one of those quintessential needs of us as the human condition. Well, fighting, that's a love just like any other. It's a love few people will ever understand because they're like, it's brutal and awful and evil. And it's like, yeah. But there are beautiful moments, those realizations, those moments of pure zen when sweat's dripping off your forehead and you've exerted yourself to nothing and you take that deep breath and you can assure to yourself that you have that confidence that today I gave all my all and today I feel good. Today's my day. It's all very meaningful sound.
yeah, no.
I know. It's like, damn.
Yay! But it is like that. And it's one of those, like, it's hard for people to even comprehend because
Right.
it is. It's so much. So as much as it is and how big it is, how do you let it go?
Right.
How do you let go of love?
I mean, that's why you see people that are doing, like, obviously there's some people, like Chuck Liddell. I mean, great fighter, man. Big fan. I don't want to see him fighting.
Yeah, there's been a resurgence lately of some of the old fighters still trying to get some fights in.
Yeah,
and
but it's the same
whatever
thing.
motivates them. There's a lot of different factors, and it's not the worst thing in the world because at the end of the day, it's that last chance at glory,
Right.
which is
But it's that love, man.
that's exactly what it is.
For sure.
'Cause
It'll make you, but it'll kill you.
Exactly. You ever heard the saying, "Find something you love and let it kill you"?
No.
No, you never heard that.
No, that scares me a little.
Yeah, find something you love and let it kill you.
Dang.
Yeah, it's kind of rough, but also a very beautiful thing. It's all, again, it's a matter of perspective. What are you doing with yourself? What are you trying to do with yourself? What does it mean to build this for yourself? Is it what you're trying to do?
Right.
So all that happens. I come back.
You will
And-
worlds. Right.
Yep, and it's time. So I gather up and I talk to the people and I start searching for a place. And I find the place that we've been at now. We're going on 11 years.
Wow. All in the same place?
All in the same place. I
Wow.
haven't moved.
I
There's
didn't
no
know
reason
that.
to move.
I did not know that.
Why do you need to move?
So then, okay, so when you're in California, that's where it just kind of
It all came together.
it all sparked
Yes.
together. Okay.
I had some very beautiful revelations and I wanted to share it. And some things didn't go so well for me. It happens. I wanted to bring it back with me though. And I came back and all my years of teaching, I emptied my para account. So I took all my savings and it was a Hail Mary. And it made some people in my life very unhappy with me, but I was like, I'm all or nothing. So I got together, and some of us got together, me and my boy, and we put down what we had, found a place. I had mats because,
Of course.
a side hustle for most wrestlers is we deal in mats, kind of like people deal in playing cards. I know some of you wrestlers out there
Oh, you got that 10 by 8? I
Still
got that
have-
10 by 8.
still have those mats in your garage.
You got that 12 by 14?
Yep. Is that one of the Resolites? Yeah. Yeah. I don't want any of that fucking new flexi roll shit. I want the Resolites. I want to feel the mat, man.
Right.
A very small portion of the population will
It-
get what I just said.
It took me a couple months to buy mats.
Yeah.
For
when
sure.
you did, you're sitting there and you're like, "Yeah, this is good."
Yeah, I don't use them.
Oh,
Like it only.
It's kind of my fault though.
Yeah, I can't. Who am I going to throw the dog?
why
Which
can't
he
you
does
throw her?
sometimes.
Practicing your guard against the dog is really good. I had a 100-pound bulldog that I refined a lot of my guard work with. But it's also a great motivator because the dog comes in biting.
Right.
And you got your legs there. And if you don't have your
You got to
feet in
use
the
your
right
legs.
place,
Yeah.
not just your legs. Especially my bulldog had a head this big. It's like whatever that dog is consuming, it's gonna get it.
Oh my god.
Big slobbery fucking nasty old dog. Loved that dog. Sat around and had to clean its wrinkles all the time. And
Yeah, bulldogs are cool.
if you should have the time to reflect on your life, and maybe you will, maybe you won't, be the person that you can look back on and be happy about. Did I give my all? Because you see me at the gym, I'm all about it. I'm doing shit constantly. The stuff I've been doing recently, it's been pretty crazy, right? Booking seminars and
Seriously.
having people in and out and keeping everything going and trying
That's
to get new
amazing.
people in. And it's a constant. And then on top of that, I got to manage. We have 13 other affiliates. I got to manage and go see those guys too and go coach them and make sure they're doing good and travel around. And then I have to fit all that into life.
Yeah.
But you know what? If it means enough to you, make the time. Because that's what really matters. If it means enough to you, you will make the time. It's cool because there are people out there who do so much stuff. Yeah, you work all day and you got school and all that. I just don't have time for anything. Is it that you don't have time, or is it that you don't have time for that person, or you don't have time for that particular thing?
Yeah, you just don't want it that bad.
Thank
My
you.
parents used to always tell me, like, oh, like, Because I would come up and I'd be like, oh, I'm hungry. And they'd be like, oh, well, there's whatever in the fridge. And I'd be like, oh, I don't want that. Well, you must not be that hungry.
Yeah.
And I used to
That
hate
is
that. I used to hate it so
Well, it
much
sucks
as a kid.
'cause you want what you want.
And it's like, no, I really am hungry. Well, then eat that. And it's like, I don't want that. Well, you're
Why
not that
don't
hungry.
you buy me the Kraft mac and cheese?
Right.
But it is like that. And when you get into so much of this stuff, it is are you going to do it or not?
Yeah.
So you get to opening a gym. We go and we open. I had a few students. Everyone comes over. It was a very beautiful thing because it was very much a labor of love. I spent a month quietly working on it. It was a bit of a secret. Only the people. We had the inner circle. Carlos Rubio.
Oh, okay.
Really?
He was there with me at the beginning. He had to take time off. Luke was there. They were around. And these guys, they knew what I was up to, and they'd come and visit me while I was in this room. Because the unit we got was a wood showroom. So I had to make the mat space. I had to redesign it. And so I got in there. And one of my jobs in high school is I used to frame houses on Cheyenne Mountain. So, so when you talk about that, it's like, okay, I can see where you're at because I've had a few of these kind of weird random jobs and, and it's a blink in time. Maybe you worked there a month or a year, but you did it. You got the experience from it. So I was in this and I was working and building the mat space and moving the mats in. Professor Roger was there. He helped and these guys all came together, got it down, made the announcement. We're open.
Dang.
If you build it, they will come. And they did. And it hasn't been all roses. I won't lie with you. The fitness industry in general is a very fickle creature. There are ebbs and flows. The New Year's resolution years, and that's always a common one. People go, I'm New Year, new me. I'm going to go join a gym.
Right.
And then there's a really small subsect of those of us who want to choke each other.
Seriously. I've brought in a numerous amount of friends in there.
Yep. And sometimes it's for them. And yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's not. And it's nothing against it. It's not everybody's cup of tea.
Yeah, I get it. Honest. Yeah.
It's tough.
I drive in sometimes and I'm like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this?
Believe me. I would be lying if I didn't have those same thoughts.
Yeah.
Like, why am I doing this?
Well,
I'm at the other end of the spectrum, though. When these snowstorms come in, my knees hurt. My ankles hurt. My back's hurt. My hands are trashed. I can't look at that. I can't even straighten all my fingers.
Dang.
Everything pops and cracks.
Yeah.
My knees grind. My ribs hurt. I can just sit here with a laundry list of issues. And a lot of us who've been doing this for a long time, same thing. One of my closest, dearest friends, Christopher Cross Connell. I hope he hears that because he'll get mad at me, which is funny. Chris Connell. Gotta correct that. Maybe you should edit that out. Is that one of those things that gets edited?
Oh,
how many edits do I get in? You're leaving it. Cool.
You only get one?
I'm
just kidding.
One edit. Sorry, brother. That edit was not for you. This time. Okay, so me and this gentleman have caused damage on each other. Horrible, horrible damage. I remember there was one time we literally shook hands and we stopped and then he brought his hand up and his pinky was sideways.
What?
Like we did this. We got down, we clapped hands, he put his hand back and then he came up, his pinky was sideways. And I was like, looking, I was like, dude, your pinky's sideways. And he looks and goes, fuck. And I'm like, okay, so me, with the experience I have, like, I've been doing this a while. I was like, well, if I fix it now while the adrenaline's going, it'll be better.
Oh,
but
my God.
it's broke. Like, it's sideways. That's fucked.
Holy
he just does
crap.
This. He turns his head. He's like, dude, fix it. So I grab his hand. I put his finger back in place.
Wow.
And then, like the true addicts, knuckleheads, however you wish to define this, we clap hands and we get back to rolling. Why? Because... fuck, why not? The other morning I was telling a story. So with what we do, when people first start out, we as humans like to believe that we're very coordinated and we can do stuff. I see him over there shaking his head.
This is not the case.
It is not the case, especially when you're asked to do these motions. You know, how much actual body control goes into performing an armbar or turning and controlling and moving or anything along those lines.
Doing the warm-ups.
Yes, doing the warm-ups. Are you a little sour about those high rakes?
No, I feel good now.
Is there anyone specifically you want to call out?
I'm a killer at the warm-ups.
No, I mean for the ones who are coming in late and not doing their warm-ups, you know who you are.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
We need to say no names here.
Fair enough. So, but I remember I was rolling and this kid, he was flung out, he spun, he took an elbow and he hit me in the side of my face. Shattered my tooth
Oh,
Oh, no.
right out of my mouth.
dang.
I knew it. It's not the first time I've had a tooth knocked out of my
You
mouth.
just spit it out.
I put it into my hand and I set it on the mat. Like I literally did this and I moved over here and I sat and I moved away from it.
Oh,
And I
my
remember
God.
him, he looked over, he's like, "Is that your tooth?"
Oh, what?
And I was like, "Yeah, it's fine, man. Let's roll."
Damn, I'll be scared.
I would get up. I would get my stuff. And I probably would never come back.
Well, no. Well, there's a thing. Like when you're in the moment and the adrenaline's still going, those injuries, they're going to be there. They're going to be waiting for you. The minor ones, you kind of get a gauge for what you can get away with and what you can't. Those minor injuries, you know, fingers, toes, stuff like that, you're going to feel that later, no matter what. So at a certain point, you're like, well, I might as well get my session in.
I guess so.
That one always stuck with me because I remember the look in his eyes when I set my tooth down on the mat and I was like, all right, let's go. And I remember he turned white,
Oh.
pale. He's just like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, man, I'm good. Let's go. And I'm sure it was very, all right, man, I'm good. Let's go.
So he's like,
Yeah, like
okay.
Yes. And I'm sure I was very much like wide-eyed. And yeah.
it's like bloody fucking mouth. Like
Oh, yeah.
Dang.
I'm sure it was not happy because it was one of those. Probably not one of my prouder moments. But like I said, you're just like, well, that fucking sucked. This is how it's going to be. I'm going to hurt for a while.
Yeah.
With dental stuff, that always sucks too because it's not like you can just go to a dentist right away. It always has to be a couple days.
Right.
Now I caught this other guy, this newer guy. He's a white belt. I think his name is Carlos. And I hit him with the scissor sweep, and
Oh, yes.
I had his arm, so he couldn't post it. But as soon as I went to like start getting up, I let go of his post, and it was right in the middle of the sweep. So he stuck his arm behind him like as far as he could.
Yep.
Kind of like
Because your natural
armbarred.
instinct is to save yourself, but that did not happen that way.
Yeah, he basically armbarred himself, and like just as soon as it happened, he let out like the biggest, just like fuck.
Yeah.
Dang.
And yeah, that was that day I came home. I was like, I hurt somebody today, like completely unintentional. And I feel like shit, man. Like I haven't seen him still. Like I still fucking
No,
think
he's
about it.
still around. He without putting too much information out, kid's still training. He's coming back.
Nice.
He loves the art. He's coming. But that's one of those markers where you even heard me joke. Like a lot of the times where you come off like psychopaths. Sometimes like, oh, you guys are just out here trying to hurt each other. The intention is not there.
Yeah.
We're not truly trying to hurt each other. We can always quit. And if you tap, okay, you tap, you let go.
Like you are trying to hurt each other, but like willingly,
Yeah.
with their permission.
It's with consent.
It's with yeah.
Okay.
There's a liability waiver. I agreed to this. Why would you agree to this? It felt like a good idea at the time. Why would you agree to this? Choke me harder.
No, it's
Oh,
like the
jeez.
Choke me.
that should just be
Choke me
answered with the have you ever choked somebody?
Yes. Well, it depends on if it's intimate or not. That's,
More or
those
less. No.
those are getting into some of those conversations.
Have you ever choked somebody that didn't want to be choked, but like
honestly,
has given you consent? It's an
in a
amazing-
rolling situation, yes. Outside of the gym, I have had to use physical violence 3 times in my life.
Oh, okay. That's actually a really low number.
Yes. All 3 times were pure defensive. And they were mostly just to get people to quit hitting me. In recent years, I have not had to fight. I made a really terrible choice one night with some kid who was going to pull a gun on me.
Oh, no.
And I played a really bad bluff. I was like, all right, well, you can pull a gun, but can you get to it before I can get to you? And he did not call my bluff. But in hindsight, that was one of the dumbest things you could do. There is nothing on your person right now that is worth your life. That's the reality of that.
Mm-hmm.
If they want what your person is, fight like hell to protect that. But there's nothing in my existence that is worth my life.
Mm-hmm.
That's just how that is. So somebody comes up to mug you, it's like, yeah, dude, here you go. Good luck.
I know. I see those videos too much online, man, where people fight it.
Yeah.
They just get like shot or something. It
Well,
just
and
doesn't
even
seem like go for a stolen car or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
but even for us training, one of the worst things is I always get a little tight in my chest when people's like, oh yeah, I was hanging out with my friends and we started rolling and we were drinking. And I always go, especially as an old coach, because that's when the bad injuries happen. You know, somebody they thought it was a good idea and they're rolling, and then a little bit of alcohol is involved, and the temperament wasn't quite controlled. Because let's be real, even in the gym under the controlled conditions, and even with me there, I am told I have a calming presence. You know, I always try to keep things low key, and because sometimes the dripping testosterone of manhood dripping down the walls and everything coming together. Sometimes tensions get flayed. Mm-hmm. You're in the heat of the moment. The passion's there. Maybe you feel like they didn't let go of you quick enough, and you pop up and you're pissed.
yep.
Or they said something to you and it just hits you wrong. Or there is a lot of raw emotion that's involved with the training as well. And it really is nothing personal. And later, every single person I've ever dealt with who had some type of outburst always regretted it.
Yeah.
Which then brings me to one of the statements I'll say in the gym all the time. Anger is a useless emotion. Now, I might be just a broken human. I just can't feel anger anymore. But when you think about anger, when has anything good ever come from you getting angry?
Right.
Let's be real. Mm-hmm. Two things happen. You either hurt or make somebody feel like shit, or you make yourself look like a douche. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. And nobody ever sits there and goes, oh, man, I feel so much better now that I yelled at that McDonald's worker.
Yeah.
Like, really? Like, really?
Yeah, no, you said that. I tried to think of like one occasion where, it just doesn't, I have nothing.
And that is exactly it. You know, what is the current social media thing? The Karens of the world. Karens of the world. You know, those people who are, you know, I've had an interesting conversations in my life. One is, you know, you're at a restaurant, you order your food. Nobody likes not getting what they wanted. It happens sometimes. Mm-hmm. They're human too. Mm-hmm. Whatever. I usually, like, when I get something different, I'm one of those who I'll just eat it anyways. I'll sit there and I'll be like, you know, maybe it was today to try that, and I'll try it.
Uh-huh.
I like that.
Was it any
that perspective,
good?
actually.
Yeah. Was it good? Like, I get it. You know, you really hate tomatoes. You can pick those off.
True.
But then they have the tomato juice on there, and it's a hint of tomato, and I don't like it. Mm-hmm. All right. Well, here's something to consider. That person who's working at that restaurant is doing their best. Maybe they had something terrible happen that day. Maybe they fucking hate that job, which would be understandable.
Right.
And you just yelled at them because of whatever mistake. Maybe it was theirs. Maybe it was someone else's. Mm-hmm. And now that person has to carry that too. I will sit here and you as a person, and this I'll say this to Anthony, you imagine yourself as a car in the world. You can tune yourself up. You can take care of yourself. You can't always replace parts, but you take care of yourself. But as you drive down the road of life, you get mud on you. So you need things to clean your car ever so often. But no matter what, you're still driving down the road of life, and you get dirt on you. That dirt's not always yours. That dirt is from everything. You're driving down the road, and you hit this point in your life. You come in contact with this waitress, or you come in contact with some guy on the street, or you come in contact with, somebody came by you, and for whatever reason, they were pissed at you and yelled at you. And you get to carry that because you'll be like, oh, well, double dumbass on you. Classic movie line. Another movie line for you to look up. Double dumbass on you. It's an old movie. Star Trek.
Okay.
The Voyage Home.
I haven't seen any of them.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah, none of them.
I've obviously had too much time in my life, and I've watched. No, I have this weird thing. Movies and TV shows I always remember. It's weird. So I can watch them once and I'll remember pretty much the whole show.
Dang.
Yeah, it's like a superpower.
It's like
That's a
my
good gift.
Everybody has a superpower. That's mine. The ability to watch random terrible TV shows and remember everything about them. That's why I'm always big on movie trivia. Come on, baby. I'm going to get rich off this movie trivia.
Right.
But no, when it comes to emotions like anger and stuff, just useless. There's no point. There is 0 point.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to be angry. We need to be angry. It's part of the human condition. But when you choose to put that out on somebody, it does neither of you any good. And especially if it's somebody you care about. Like, one thing to vent. Venting's important. You should vent. Mm-hmm. And when you vent, venting is almost honorable. When somebody is there willing to listen to you vent, it's a big deal. But the person who's listening to you vent should also understand that it's not their job to fix it or to anything. It is your job to just be a listening post. And that's where these kind of things in relationships, because it's always funny, you'll hear somebody's venting one part of the relationship, the other person hears, and then, what do you mean by that?
Right.
So many times in my life. That phrase alone strikes fear into every man on this planet. What do you mean by that? Right, guys? Right. You don't have to agree with me. What do you mean
Anthony's
by that?
like, you're putting me on the hot spot right now. I'm like,
What do you mean
staring
by
at
that?
him.
I'm the only male in my house, and I'm scared now. I have to sleep sometime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are always those phrases that you catch on to, like you'll hear them. And it really doesn't even have to be anything to do with whoever you're with. It could be old stuff, but you'll develop these weird little mannerisms, and they're attached to those same negative emotions.
Yeah.
Something somebody said to you that you just always knew after this statement was made, it was just not going to go well. And it makes things interesting as life goes on, because someone else will come in and just say it just out of random, and you'll just be like, oh, God. And you'll get the scared face and clinch up. You know what I'm saying? The clinch up. Oh, it's from the belly, but it goes much deeper, right down to the oil check. Bringing it full circle back to the oil check.
Yeah, we were never
gosh.
supposed to bring that up again.
Oh, yeah. Swing and a miss.
Oh, my God.
How many opportunities do you have to have a semi-public forum to
I know,
crack
right?
jokes
Talk
about
about oil checks.
Yes.
No, that's pretty crazy, man. Honestly, the opening of the gym has been amazing for me.
I'm happy to hear that.
I've only been there for a couple of years, and shout out to Rubio. If it wasn't for Rubio, I wouldn't be there.
Yep.
He was
'Cause
definitely.
I remember he put in a lot of time with you specifically.
Yeah, we ended up in the same training class for the job that I'm still currently at.
Yeah.
And I just remember bringing up the farm, and he was just like, "I trained at the farm." I was like, "Oh, really?" He's like, "Yeah, I've been there for a while." I was like, "Dang, I've been trying to make my way to go and make an appearance there, basically." And I just kind of same deal as everybody, just kind of gave him the excuses. And
Yeah.
one day he just showed up with a spare gi to work. And he was like, "Here, take this gi. I know it doesn't fit you, but he was like, here, now you have a gi. Now you have no reason not to go.
Dun, dun, dun.
So show up."
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, I'm still there.
Yeah.
So,
And that's usually how a lot of those stories are. No matter what you want to do in life, again, one excuse to do it.
yeah.
But you can make every excuse in the world to not do it.
And it's been amazing for me, man. I've met a lot of great people. We've had a lot of people on here that I've met from the farm, which has been great. I've had some really cool experiences like Cali
Yep.
and that whole deal, and I just feel like it's kind of turned my life into a different path that I never thought that I would have been a part of. So thank you, Danny.
I appreciate that.
Thank you for
There's so
opening
much
up.
more to do.
Yeah,
There's
seriously.
always something to do.
This is definitely something that I've always, like growing up, this is something I always had wanted to do. My parents just couldn't afford it, so I never did it when I was younger.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I got older and I knew that I could afford it, this was definitely something I had always wanted to try. So I feel like for me, and this is just like personally, I'm a believer of I would rather have it and not need it versus need it and not have it. That's not why I do jiu-jitsu. It's definitely more of like a pleasure kind of thing. I don't really know. But
Passion.
but as far as like, yeah, if you're a woman, like that's huge, man. Like I feel like you really can't argue that. It would definitely be better to know it and not need it than to need it and to not know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
We actually probably have one of the better programs in Northern Colorado for that, as we do actually offer accommodations. You've seen we have the women's locker room.
Mm-hmm.
We actually
yeah.
do have a women's team that meets. I'm actually bringing in a seminar in May, and that'll be for just the women.
Oh,
Oh,
really?
really?
It's this very good female brown belt out of our Tulsa team. Her name's Mahala Turner. She is a Fight to Win champion and also a Pro Division champion out in Oklahoma.
Wow.
And she's going to come through and
Sorry.
she's going to come through, and that'll be just for the women.
Okay, nice.
You know, a women's only seminar.
I love to hear that.
Open to new people and all that. Shameless plug. Shameless plug. But these are those kind of events too, to try to push that as well, because
That's amazing.
yeah,
Like
try to
seriously,
do our best.
yeah.
Because it is. Those are real things.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time in the world, like God, country, everything, may everything shine upon you so that you never know violence and that you live your life and never have to be put in a position where you feel helpless and hopeless.
Right.
But there is life, and sometimes things happen.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do that, or you can put your time elsewhere and hope that nothing happens.
Mm-hmm.
And odds are it won't. And that's a good thing. Nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something else to do. So feeling guilty about it, I would say, no. You know, it's not for everybody. There's
Yeah.
always something else you can do. Shoot, you can go buy a gun.
Yeah.
Seriously.
You can, they have those nifty little brass knuckle things.
She has those actually.
Yeah, there you go.
See him on the keychain over there?
Sweet.
He tries to hook me up.
Yeah,
Dude, everybody.
tasers.
She got tasers. She got a
Yeah.
pepper spray. I bought my mom one of those prostitute guns. Those belly
Nice.
guns, the Derringers.
Yeah, the Derringer. All that type of stuff. It's just another means to an end. It's just something that if you have it and can do something, then it's something to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The world it's not nice. It is messy, and it's dirty on all facets and every part of it. So all you can do is just do your best to be okay with it. And just get through, just like everybody. And may you pass away happy, healthy, with no regrets, surrounded by loved ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Seriously. I think I have one last question because if
Sure.
I don't ask this, it's going to bother me because I've been thinking about this probably way too much, to be honest with you. But it is because I am a big fan. Of course, I'm a big fan of you, Danny.
Ooh.
But I'm a pretty big fan, and I follow him pretty close. But I have heard, and I'm curious as to why. Why have I heard that you don't get along with Brenden Schaub?
It's nothing real. Like, I don't know. It's like the Jeff Glover thing. People are convinced that Jeff Glover came to our gym and got hurt when
What?
he actually hurt himself. Yeah, it's one of those funny rumors that in our world that kind of goes around.
Oh, that's where he blew his
Those
knee or
guys at the
something?
farm, Jeff Glover blew his knee up there. Those guys roll like assholes. They're real hard. Brenden Schaub is another one of those outlandish personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Me and him, through grappling, had crossed paths a few times. And it wasn't always kind words. But I'm sure that he probably doesn't even remember. It was very long ago. Very, very long ago.
Okay.
But I don't think there's any particular reason for Brenden Schaub. I'm actually kind of confused by that question.
Oh, okay. I just heard it in the gym, and I just remember being like, damn, like, he doesn't get along with Brenden Schaub. One, that's crazy that he knows who Brenden Schaub is. Two, just to say that they don't get along, I'm like, fuck, man.
I bet you're thinking of Elliot Marshall.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So me and Elliot Marshall, now it's kind of old stuff now, and we've been very friendly in recent years. But many years ago, we were competing against each other. He was up and coming MMA fighter. I was grappling, also MMA fighting. And I went for a technique, and his knee gave out. And it blew out his knee.
Ooh.
His instructor at the time, a gentleman by the name of Amal Easton, said that I did it unintentionally to hurt him,
Wow.
which was not
Okay.
my intent.
Right.
But I am a larger guy, and I went for a technique. It was basically a standing reap on his leg, and I reaped, and his knee popped. It was bad. It was an injury. They viewed it as I did something dirty. I didn't.
Right.
But that's one of those. It's always about perspective from the outside looking in. So for a lot of years, yes, we had not exchanged. We've coached against each other on many occasions.
Ooh.
Both in the fight world and in jiu-jitsu tournaments and things like that. I don't think there's anyone in the world that I don't like particularly. I hesitate about some of the personalities that people tend to follow blindly. One I might point out, now that I have not actually met him, nor do I have any type of stake or anything personal, but one that I worry about is like Joe Rogan. He's a very outlandish personality, and I've seen almost a cultic following of this person.
Right.
And it's funny because I remember many, many years ago when he was very first commentating for the UFC, he was straight calling things the wrong names and saying stuff that was just blatantly wrong. And for those of us who had been training, and especially training with some of the Brazilians and stuff while he was doing this, it was all just kind of this awkward joke. Like, who is this guy?
Dang.
And especially to watch how he became such a personality because he grew along with the UFC and stuff.
Right.
So usually when people start saying stuff like that to me, I just go, yeah, okay. You know, I mean, I hope it's good. You're getting something out of that. Me personally, I'm good. You know, over idolization of anybody is unhealthy, definitely. So, but as far as like Brenden Schaub, like I said, it was just so different back when I first started. You know, there's a lot of those names that became good that I've come across. I was just that for some reason when you mentioned Brenden Schaub, I started thinking of Nate Marquardt, and I've been fortunate enough to spar and fight with him, and he was another one of those, and just some of those names where as I sit down, I don't even remember it all, and I've cracked the joke a few times. Well, it's all the brain trauma. I've been punched in the head too much, but it's just a life, and very much I even joke with myself about the Forrest Gump life. You know, I just found myself in these situations, and I just kept training, and it was in pursuit of what I wanted to do. Like I wanted to train, and it was the extremist. So it's like as I'm training, I want to be good. I want to be elite. I want to be as good as I can possibly be, because if I can for myself, that's what's important. What can I do for myself to make myself? And that's what the pursuit has been. So yeah, I've had some interesting scraps over the years and little interesting tiffs. I'm trying to remember the name of, there's a gentleman by the name of Mike Nichols. My first Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament, I went out in white belt and I won pretty decisively. I was a college level wrestler, so I was like, these days, whatever.
You know the body.
Yeah. And then I was sitting there and this guy wearing a blue belt comes in. And I saw him and I was like, I went up to Charles like, I want to compete against him. Charles looks at me and he's like, but he's a blue belt. I was like, what's that mean? What? So do I have to go buy a blue belt now? Like, what does that mean? Because for as much as how things are structured now, I was in a numbskull with a lot of that stuff. I was very much like, meat.
No, I believe it.
I need to go get my meat.
When we were in Cali,
That's competition. Go get competition.
we did
That's good.
that tourney in Cali, and there was this one kid who was probably like 145, and he competed white belt, blue belt, purple,
Yeah.
and like just doing the whole shebang. But he was like, he had been wrestling for like 12 years, some like ridiculous number, like
Yeah.
all of high school, wrestling in college right now, like that's his life.
Yeah.
And he was destroying people
Yeah.
for sure. And then he got put out.
Yeah. That's how it is.
Yep.
Those are the specialties.
Yeah.
What separates wrestling from jiu-jitsu? It's the same thing that separates freestyle, folk style, and Greco in wrestling. It's just rules. What are you allowed to do and what are you not allowed to do? And within those rules, you refine what you do.
Yep.
In wrestling, if you were allowed to choke each other again, what do you think they'd be practicing a lot more of? And therefore, you would get good at choking.
Yep.
Because just like everything, you practice at it, you get better at it.
Yep.
That is how this world exists. If you want to be good at something, you put your time into it, and through trial and error, you figure out how to get it done. That's it. So when you get into some of these kind of things with the grappling, and like I said, I was just getting competition.
Yep.
At that point in my life, it was like, whatever. So this Mike Nichols gentleman, as I've encountered him in recent years, good guy. In fact, honestly, most of those guys you run into in person, they're great people.
Mhm.
It's just, in that point in time, we were different people. In that point in time, when I got that match, I had no idea what I was doing. I was just out there, and, we went through a table, and we wrecked the place. We were both just big guys all over the place, just doing crazy stuff. So that guy, Mike Nichols, was one of the first Ultimate Fighters on the Ultimate Fighter series, and he made it nearly to the end. And that's just kind of how that is. But I've even questioned kind of how my existence is. One of those people who was also on that show was also on my high school wrestling team with me. So it's just kind of these weird connections
That's
that have just kind of
crazy.
happened over and over again.
It's
in
like
my
this
life.
insanely small world of just punching face.
Yes. And that's exactly what it is, because it is. Ooh, I got away from the mic there. It is a smaller community. It's a subset.
Yeah.
It is a smaller part of the world of what we do. So we're here, and these guys all do this stuff. And when that many people have the same interests and same likes, and these schools pop up, it's one of the reasons, like, if you go to another gym, for the most part, usually the vibe's about the same.
Right.
About the same. Every gym's a little different.
But
And some
similar.
places are run, but it's similar.
Yep.
And when you get there, it doesn't really matter if you like each other, or if your values are different, or religion, or race, or whatever. Usually if you go somewhere to train, you're there to train.
Yeah, everybody's there for the same purpose.
Exactly. So the rest of that becomes a non-issue. You're all there for the same cause. You go to a tournament, you're all there to compete.
Right.
You go to another gym because you're traveling and you want to train, you're there to train.
Right.
So the rest of it is inconsequential. It gets weird and sad when somebody brings their own like dramas in, or they get in there and start wanting to get overly personal with people. And then they go, well, I just don't like this guy.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Wow, you don't like him, huh? All right. Well, you remember when you were in school and you were paired up with somebody, and if you didn't like him, you still had to get the fuck to work. And if you wanted a good grade, you had to actually finish the work with this person. Yeah, that's why they do that, is to teach you how to do that when you're younger.
Yeah.
It's freaking wild.
It's the same thing at work, It's like, you don't have to like or love each other. You don't have to be taking long walks on the beaches.
I like how that's your voice.
That is my loving voice.
Your lover voice. Your creepy ass lover voice.
Now you're a black belt, right?
Yes. In Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I have the title of professor. I am currently a 3rd degree, and next year, early in the year, I'll be eligible for my 4th degree. When you are a black belt, your first 3 degrees are every 3 years. After that, it's every 5 years. So that'll denote that I've been a black belt 14 years.
Wow.
Damn.
So I have been around for way too long. I do have a saying, the only thing that ever makes me any good is that I've outlasted most everyone else around. Now, with that said, there are still a lot of people, like some of those names I've dropped, they're still around.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a lot of them have settled into similar existences. They're coaching or something along those lines, or they got their side hustles going or whatever. But there are a lot of us out there, and it's always very interesting. This is a fun one, and this is one of those for you guys to consider. You're out in the world and you get road rage, and you feel the urge to jump out of your car and pick a fight with somebody. There's a good chance you could run into a Dan Henderson, or you could run into a Fabricio Werdum, or you could run into a Justin Gaethje. That one's actually pretty likely here in Greeley or in this
Ryan
area.
Hall in a restaurant.
Exactly. First of all, the fact that you get angry, again, going back to what I said, anger is a useless emotion.
Mm-hmm.
But no matter how cocksure you are or how tough you ever think you are, there's always a bigger fish in the ocean. And the fact that you could get mad and think that you're going to jump out, and that's not even taking into account that people have guns and knives and horrible implements of human destruction.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, God, you might get out. You remember Don't Be a Menace to South Central?
Yeah.
He opens the back of the truck and he's got a fucking missile there.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Do we have a problem here?
Oh my gosh.
But even just the fact that you could be so sure of yourself in that moment, and then you come across one of these old fighters. And that's just the names that you know of.
Yep.
I know of a lot of guys who never made any type of notoriety. Those are those workhorses, those guys who hung out in the back rooms.
Yep.
Those guys who just trained and they refined themselves and they made themselves something. And then you happen to come across them that day. All because you think they cut you off, or they drove past you too fast, or they hindered your progression of traffic.
Yep.
Hey, people out there, take care of yourselves. Anger's useless. Work on managing yourself. It's good for you. That's about that. Can I drop this mic now?
Yeah.
Yep.
That might
Drop
be
the mic. Drop the mic.
that might be literally the best segue. So where can people find you?
Usually at the farm. I don't really have much of a life.
If you are in northern Colorado, look up the farm if you are interested in maybe getting a workout. Maybe you want to throw some hands on somebody. Maybe you want to put your hands around somebody's neck.
Or maybe you just want to try something new.
I like that last one. Maybe you just want to try something new.
Maybe I was a little bit too violent.
I know,
that was aggressive, man. Did I get you pumped up, Anthony?
I think so.
I think I'm just really ready for class.
Yeah. It's
No, but
it's time. Honestly, we try to promote an environment where people have fun. At the end of the day, for what we do, it's strenuous. It's a drag. It's rough, but we try to have fun. We don't take ourselves too seriously. Another one of my favorite jokes is you can't take yourself too seriously if your favorite pastime is rolling around in your pajamas with other men.
Yeah, seriously.
Yeah. So we do our best. You can find us on West 10th Street. We're tucked in a little bit, but we're out there. You can look us up on the Google. The Google. Is that how we pronounce it now?
Yes.
I think I read that somewhere. And, yeah, come on in. Try us out. See if you like it. If you don't like it, cool. It'll be something cool that you can tell that one couple days that you went and tried to punch face with fighters and stuff and everyday Joes. Mm-hmm. Or maybe you'll like it and you'll find something else to do with your time.
mm-hmm.
Hell yeah.
But we're there, and we'll probably be there.
To all the ladies out there too, I mean,
Yes.
don't be afraid to go in there and try something new.
And this is actually a very proud moment for me. when I realized this. I am teaching grandchildren of students I started with.
Wow.
That is pretty wild.
Yep. It also shows I'm old. Old. So old.
If anything, that just shows high quality experience,
I know,
Well, I
right?
guess you could look at it. Gosh, this perspective thing.
That wisdom.
right? For sure. Check out the farm.
Yeah, that was
Follow
perfect.
them on Instagram. Check out their website.
Look
Yes.
them up on Google. Don't be shy. Make your way into the farm. Come say hi.
You do some shameless promotions. We're about to have famous people by.
We
Yes.
are. This will be out here in a couple of weeks, so we should still be good. We got a couple good names. We got Ryan Hall.
Yep. Jeff
We got
Glover's
Jeff Glover,
coming.
and then we got
Dean
Dean
Lister's
Lister.
coming.
Once he's all healed up,
Octavio Cato, he comes out fairly regularly, shows
fairly
up.
regularly.
Do you know when the next recent one is going to be? Like what date?
The next time will be May 23rd,
May 23rd. Okay.
and that'll be Jeff Glover.
Yep.
He will be on our
Nice.
mats teaching. I have a few more spots open, so if you happen to do jiu-jitsu and you hear this, just hit us up at the farm. We're finishing booking that one, and then after that we'll have Dean Lister, and then after that we try to stay busy and have something going on.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Well, thank you again for the opportunity. Thank you again for having the farm. That has been amazing for me. So thank
Thank
you,
you
Danny.
for putting up with my awkward sense of humor.
Oh, yeah.
We love it.
Usually if I talk this long, there's cops involved.
Oh, yeah. He looks over his shoulder.
I know,
like
huh?
looking
Maybe
around
outside the window. No.
What's going on here?
No, that was perfect. Thank you,
No, yeah.
Danny, again. I couldn't thank you enough. So,
Yeah, seriously.
Much
So-
love to all of you.
hell
Yes.
yeah. Let's get out of here.
All right.
Thanks, amigos. Thanks for tuning in.
Yes. Thank you, amigos, and thank you, Danny.
Yay.
Bye, everybody.